Okay, Hare Krishna. Since all goes to Prabhupada. So let's start off. We'll start with our Mangalacharan. So let's offer a flower at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada. And let's chant the pranam. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamsya Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitamsha. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vancha tarubhyasya kripa sindhubhya eva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Sarva Shastradi Piyusha Sarva Vaideka Satpala Sarva Siddhanta Ratnadhya Sarva Lokaika Drikprada Sarva Bhagavata Prana Srimad Bhagavata Prabhu Kali Dvanto Ditaditya Shri Krishna Pravartita Parmananda Pathaya Prema Varsha Aksharaya Te Sarvada Sarva Sevaya Shri Krishnaya Namostute Mad Eka Bandhu Mad Sangin Mad Guru Mad Mahadana Mad Nishtaraka Mad Bhagya Mad Ananda Namostute Asadu Sadhu Tajain Atini Chota Takara Hana Muncha Kadatin Mam Prema Rit Kantayospura Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Narayana Namaskrityam Narancheva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudire Nashtaprayasho Badreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naistiki Shunvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam Hridayantastu Abhadrani Vidunoti Suretsata Grantra Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. Hare Krishna. Welcome everyone. Nice to see all of you. Thank you for joining. So let's start off with some sharing of realizations. So very quickly, if someone can, you can unmute and share some realizations from chapter 10 of the first canto. Any point that you remember, any point that stuck onto you. You would like to start?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes.
I think in this text 20, when the Kuru ladies are praising Lord, their glorification is much better than the Shastras and the Vedas, because Vedas is indirect glorification, whereas the ladies of Kuru are just more direct, and they're glorifying starting from the dynasty, and then the ladies of Mathura, and then also that sweet feeling of kind of little jealous feeling of how fortunate are his wives and gopis. That was also beautiful, Prabhu.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing. Okay, next.
I like the point in the 24th verse about confidential devotees can only reveal confidential section of the Vedas and about Krishna because they are so close to Krishna's heart that they understand it.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Thank you. Anything else?
The most important aspect of prayer is sincerity. And we talked about the acronym for sincerity is simple, initiating daily, no expectations, control our senses, equipoised, resolute in determination, and eager.
Thank you. Thank you.
I really like the 25 verse where you said this is the every yuga verse. So it's very sweet because you said that he's not only showing mercy to the people he has come for, but he's showing mercy to all of us. He's trying to attract all of us doing his pastimes. So,
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Next, I'd like to.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes,
Mangal Pranam.
no problem.
Yeah. All slokas are good, but like 28, it's like Swakiya Bhav, Parkiya Bhav, and how the sincere, the devotee is work like for Lord Krishna, how the devotional service is in sincere and how the Lord's like reciprocate. And so that is very nice in the 28 verse.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anything else? Okay. Anyway, everyone should prepare at least one point. So at least for next class, please, everyone. And that actually, if you're reading through the week, then you'll certainly have a point to share. So please make sure that you're doing your reading and prepare a point to start off the class. Okay. So let's start off with our chapter 11. Right? So like last time we covered towards the end of chapter 10, that section was left. And chapter 11, like Chaitanya Chandra Prabhu, he covered like two main aspects of it. But the entire overflow, I think we'll do the entire overflow now. So we'll start off with chapter 11. So in chapter 10, in the last shloka, we read about how, in the entire shloka, we read about the prayers of the queens of Hastinapur. And then after that, towards the last, it described the entire journey of the Lord from Hastinapur to Dwarka, right? And we read like how he went to so many different places, and everywhere he went, in the evening he stopped, he did his worship, right, to show the right example. And then when he actually arrived in Dwarka, it is described that it's almost towards the late afternoon time that he's actually entering Dwarka. So that's how the previous chapter ended. And now in this chapter is basically describing the arrival of Lord in Dwarka. The entire chapter is just based on this theme. So chapter 10, the departure of the Lord for Dwarka. Chapter 11, arrival of the Lord in Dwarka. Okay. So just an overview of this chapter. This is basically on Subodhini. We'll see that how when the Lord actually, he enters Dwarka, the first thing is the blowing of the conch shell, and how the residents of Dwarka, they actually react to the blowing of the conch shell of Krishna. And after that, they offer different presentations, then they speak different words. So they're not as such prayers, but few verses, like 5 verses, that the residents of Dwarka actually speak to welcome the Lord. Then the next section describes how Dwarka city was decorated in such a wonderful way to welcome the Lord, and also the glories of Dwarka city is actually mentioned. Right? Then the Lord's reciprocation to, like, there are different different devotees in Dwarka, and everyone is welcoming the Lord in a particular way, and the Lord is giving personal reciprocation to each one. So how does the Lord reciprocate? So that is the next section. So Lord's reciprocation to a reception. Then text 24 to 27 actually describes Krishna's beauty. Very, very beautiful verses. And then the last 2 sections is basically describing the Lord's dealings with the queens of Dwarka, right? And then the Lord's dealing, first the Lord's dealing with the mothers headed by Devaki, and then the Lord's dealing with the queens of Dwarka. And then the final section actually shows how the Lord is actually transcendental. So very, very nice verses in that section. Okay. So this is basically kind of the overview of the chapter. So we have the reading list on the chat. So let's get started. We'll start with text number 1.
Suta uvacha anartan sa upavrajya sridhan janapadan swakan dadhmo daravaram tesham vishadam shamayaniva.
Translation. Suta Goswami said, upon reaching the borders of his most prosperous metropolis, known as the country of Anarthas, Dwarka, the Lord sounded his auspicious counsel, heralding his arrival, the apparently pacifying and dejection of the inhabitants.
Right. So now we start off the first chapter itself is describing the entrance of the Lord. So when the Lord, it actually described here, Upavrajya means reaching the border. Almost he was at the border of Dwarka, and to announce his welcome, he actually blew the conch shell. So Daravaram is referring to the conch shell of Krishna, which is actually Panchajanya. Right? So we know the conch shell of Krishna is Panchajanya. So he blew his conch shell, and as soon as the conch shell was blown, then what happened? Vishadam, Vishada, right? We actually say Vishad is the mood of lamentation or the mood of dejection. When all the residents actually they heard the conch, then their mood of dejection was actually pacified. And why were they actually feeling dejection? Because of separation from the Lord. The Lord has actually gone for such a long time. They're feeling the separation from the Lord. And now the Lord has, so as soon as they heard the conch, it's like, oh, finally Krishna has come back. He went after such a long time, now he's actually come back. So Prabhupada in the purport is actually explaining that how that all the residents of Dwarka are actually eternal associates of the Lord. So this is actually described further in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam, where it is actually described. So when, so if you go back to before the appearance of Krishna, how Brahma, they actually, the demigods, they pray for Krishna to actually appear on the earth. At that time, Krishna, through Brahma, he gives instructions to the demigods and said, all you demigods, you take birth in the family of the Yadus, and then I will actually appear and I'll show my pastimes. Right? So it is described that all the residents of Dwarka, one way, are eternal associates of the Lord. When the Lord descends, he always comes with his entire family, his close devotees, everyone comes together. But at the same time, they are also manifestation of the demigods. Okay, so each personality is one way like the eternal associate of the Lord. At the same time, it's a manifestation of the demigod. Okay? And then later on, when the pastimes are winding up, the final pastime, when the Lord is deciding to leave, then he actually says, well, all this Yadu dynasty, they are so powerful. And before I leave, I need to do something to even wind up this family. Right? So at that time, it's described as how the eternal associates, they actually stay in Dwarka. But then the demigod portions, they go to this area known as Prabhashetra, and that's where the final pastime takes place, where they actually, the whole thing, the Shamba actually comes and they play the trick, and they dress Shamba like a pregnant lady, and they go to the sage and say like, oh, is it a boy or girl? And they say like, oh, this, you're joking with a sage. And then they actually said, whatever you give birth to, that will be the cause of the destruction of the entire dynasty. And he gave birth to an iron club, and then later on, Ugrasen, he makes the iron club into pieces, but it's all and throws in the sea. But it's actually those seaweeds which they actually use. They fight. But the whole point here, Prabhupada is actually saying that all these residents of Dwarka, they are actually eternal associates. So one way, they are not separated from the Lord, because they are always absorbed in thought with the Lord. But at the same time, because the Lord was personally gone for some time when this battle of Kurukshetra was taking place, and how we read in the previous chapter how the Lord wanted to come, and then so many things happened, right? He wanted to come, and then we read about Uttara coming to and saying, Krishna, save the baby in my womb. And then Krishna is like, after saving the Parikshit Maharaj, then Krishna is ready to go, and then Queen Kunti comes, offers prayers, and then Maharaj Yudhishthira is not pacified, and then they go to Bhishma Pitama, And then after the hearing from Bhishma, Yudhishthira is satisfied. Then he starts to rule. And then Krishna says, okay, time to go. But then he sees Subhadra, his own sister Subhadra is lamenting. Then again, he spends 3-4 months. So imagine the essence of Dwarka. They hear that, okay, Mahabharata war is over. Kurukshetra war is over. And they're anxiously waiting. When will our Lord come, come, come? And then finally, when they hear the conch shell, then it's like, oh, now our Lord is finally coming, right? So that is basically described in this first verse. Okay. So let's go on to text number 2.
Sa uchakashe dhavalo daro daro puru kramasya dharasho nashonima dhadam dhadnyayamana karakandra sampute yatabja khande kalaham sa utsvanaha.
The white and fat bold conch shell, being gripped by the hand of Lord Krishna, sounded by him, appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed that a white swan was playing in the stem of red lotus flowers.
It is actually, one way Bhagavatam is also like so, like you read particular shlokas and it's like you can meditate on the visualization that is described in Bhagavatam. This is so beautiful. So we read previously the Lord actually blew the conch Janya. But now that conch shell is actually described as Dhavala Udara, right? Udara means what? Belly, like Damodar, right? Damodar. The Udara of Krishna was bound by ropes, and hence Damodar, right? So Udara, the conch itself, is actually compared to a fat belly or fat bowl, right? So you can consider like a big conch, like fat bowl conch. And then that conch, which is white and fat bowl conch, was gripped by the hand of Krishna. So the hand of Krishna is, we know, is like reddish, right? And because his lips are like what? Bimba color, right? Bimba. Even in Damodar Ashtakam, we see Bimba, right? So that red color lips is actually touching the conch. So if you visualize in your mind, so the white conch, the tip of the conch is red, and then the hand is reddish, and between that, there is the white conch. And that's the beautiful description. And then it is appeared to be reddened by the touch of his transcendental lips. It seemed like a white swan was playing in the stems of red lotus flowers. So the hand of Krishna and the touch of his lips actually made the conch shell redden, and that appeared like red lotus flowers, and in between there is a swan of Krishna's conch that is actually playing. It's like so poetic, so poetic, right? So Prabhupada, very interestingly in this purport, he says, the redness of the white conch shell is a symbol of spiritual significance. Right? And Prabhupada takes this in like a very beautiful direction, and he actually says that that everything you see in this material world is a manifestation of Krishna's energy. What is outside of Krishna? Nothing is outside of Krishna. But yet, it is actually the pure devotees who actually use this energy of the Lord in the service of the Lord. And when they use this so-called material energy in the service of the Lord, then the material energy gets transformed into spiritual energy. And that, Prabhupada is saying, is the spiritual significance of the redness of the white conch shell. The white conch shell is here compared to that way, the material energy. But as soon as it's touched by Krishna, then it becomes spiritual, reddish. Right? This is like similar in Bhagavad Gita 4:24. Krishna actually says that Brahma Arpanam Brahma Avid Bhagnano Brahmana Suta Brahmaiva Tena Gantavya Brahma Karma Samadhina. And Prabhupada in the purport, he says this is the method of Krishna consciousness. What is that method? That we actually spiritualize everything. Like Prabhupada, like often he says, in a lecture we hear, he's using the microphone and he's actually saying, well, the microphone access is material energy. But because the microphone is actually used to propagate the message of Krishna, it is coming in contact with the spiritual sound vibration, this microphone is no longer material, but it is spiritual because it's directly used in Krishna's service. So in that 424 purport, Prabhupada says, this is a method of Krishna consciousness. What is that? that everything that is here, it is material, but we want to convert everything to spiritual. And how do we do that? By how Krishna is touching the conch with his lips. Similarly, we get everything in contact with Krishna. Krishna's sound, Krishna's name, Krishna's form, Krishna paraphernalia, anything that's coming in contact with Krishna is no longer material, but that is spiritual. So Prabhupada actually explained that point. The Lord is present in every particle of this existence, but he can manifest his presence in anyone. And how will the Lord manifest his presence? By actually the spiritual contact with the Lord. Everything actually becomes spiritual. And then further Prabhupada actually says, like the last sentence is again, you see the poet, how Prabhupada itself is such a poet, right? Prabhupada himself is such a wonderful poet. So he says the last sentence, by ardent love and devotional service to the Lord, in other words, by spiritual contact with the Lord, everything becomes spiritually reddened like the conch shell in the grip of the Lord. And the Paramahamsa, or the pure devotees, right? They play the part of the ducking swan in the water of spiritual bliss, eternally decorated by the lotus flower of the Lord's feet. So the pure devotees, what did they do? They actually convert anything they see into spiritual. And because now everything becomes spiritual, then they are like the ducking swan who is actually enjoying in that spiritual bliss. You know, like in that bhajan in Shuddha Bhakata Charana Renu, that bhajan of Bhakti Thakur, he actually says, Je dina grehe bhajana dekhi, grihe te goloka bhaya, chana siddhu dekhiya kanga, sukana samapaya. Ye dina grihe bhajana dekhi. So he's actually saying that just by seeing devotional service, you know, being performed in my house is actually transformed into Goloka Vrindavan. Right? And you know, so beautiful that Bhakti Thakur is saying, just by seeing the devotional service of the Lord, my house is no longer my house, it is actually Goloka Vrindavan. So the pure devotees have the power of converting everything to spiritual. Like one example we often say that Prabhupada, when he was in San Francisco in the early days, right? From his window, he saw a flatbed truck. Right, a flatbed truck, and immediately he said, "We will do Rath Yatra on a flatbed truck." So immediately, and that was the first Rath Yatra. Right? First Rath Yatra was actually they had a flatbed truck, and then Jagannath, Baldev, Subhadra were sitting, and they had a Kirtan party, and that was like the first Rath Yatra in the West. But you see, a devotee has a spiritual vision to convert everything to material, and that is actually compared. Prabhupada explaining, just like that conch, which was like fat belly, and touched by Krishna's lips became reddened. Okay. Okay. So next go to text number 3.
Tam upashrutya ninadham jagad bhaya bhayavaham pratyudyayu praja sarva bhartri darshana lalasaha.
The citizens of Dwarka, having heard that sound which threatens fear personified in the material world, begin to run towards him fast, just to have a long desired audience with the Lord, who is the protector of all devotees.
So it says, Prati Udhyayuha. They rapidly, as soon as they heard the conch shell, you know, imagine they've been waiting for so long. Finally, when they heard the conch shell, what did they do? Whatever they're doing, they just left everything and then ran. It says rapidly proceeded towards Krishna. Why? Because darshana lalasaha. They actually desired to have that audience. Lalasaha means that longing to have the darshan of the Lord. So Prabhupada explains the purport. One way, these pure devotees, they are never separated from the Lord. Why? Because they are always thinking of the Lord. And how we say the Lord is absolute. So if you're thinking of the Lord, you are directly in contact with the Lord. Right? So one way, they were never separated from the Lord, but at the same time, they are actually hankering to have that personal darshan of the Lord. Right? So as soon as they heard the conch, they were like, okay, now is the time again we can have the long desired audience with the Lord. And hence they actually ran towards Krishna, who was actually entering into Dwarka. Right? And Prabhupada actually explains it's just like hearing the conch shell was just like the sunrise. So if you're sleeping at night and the sun rises, immediately it's like time to wake up. So similarly, the conch of Krishna was like the sunrise, and immediately they were in that melancholy or the state of like, feeling that separation and when will Krishna come? And as soon as the conch, it was like sunrise, and then they ran towards Krishna. Right? So Prabhupada gives that. The other point that is explained in this verse is actually, he says, Tam upashritya, having overheard, Ninadam means the sound, Jagat Bhaya, Bhaya Avaham. Right? Jagat Bhaya is the fear of material existence. Right? And then he says, Bhaya Avaham, the threatening principle of that fear of existence. Okay? So actually, the sound of Krishna is actually non-different from Krishna. So out of these four aspects of our material existence, which is actually eating, sleeping, mating, and defending or fearing, right? The aspect of that fear is actually the aspect that is most prominent. Why? Because like eating, okay, yeah, we all want to eat, but once you eat, then okay, I'm satisfied now. My stomach is full. Then you don't have to worry of eating for like, let's say 5-6 hours. It's full. Sleeping, yes. Eating, sleeping, yeah, you have a good night's sleep, and then after, okay, now I'm okay. Right? Mating, okay, there is some, whenever that action is done, then it's okay. Now it's okay. But the fearing is constant. Always, 24/7, that fear is there in our heart. Even in the night, we may wake up and like, oh, what happened? What happened? And always we are fear of losing our dear ones, fear of losing our property, fear of some unforeseen circumstance that may happen, right? Or a fear of, just uncertainty of this material world. So that fear is always there. But what is the solution? How can one actually overcome the fear of material existence? In the second canto, in the first chapter, there's actually a verse. Says Tasmad Bharata Sarvata Bhagwan Ishwaro Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavyascha Smartavya Cha Cheshta Smartavya Cha Ichata Bhayam. Right? So basically there it actually says that Sukadev Goswami is actually, that's the first few verses that Sukadev Goswami speaks, and he actually says the one who actually wants to become free from the fear of this material existence, right? Bhayam. If you want to become free from that bhaya of this material existence, then what one should do? One should actually Tasman Bharat Bhagwan Ishwar Hari Shrotavya Kirtitavya, sir. You hear about Krishna, you chant the glories of Krishna, and in that way you can actually get free from all the fear of material existence. Right? And here, and there's one verse in the 11th of the same 2:111, where it says, Etan nirvidyamananam ichchatam akuto bhayam. Again, the word bhaya is there. Akuto bhayam means how to get free from all this fear. Etan nirvidyamananam ichchatam akuto bhayam yoginam nripa nirninam hare namanu kirtanam. Right? So how can you get free? Harera namanu kirtanam. By engaging in this constant chanting of the Naam of Krishna, Hare Nama, by constant chanting of Hare Nama, one can actually get free from the fear of this material existence. Right? Now, this principle of fear is actually further explained in the 11th canto. There is this famous verse which talks about why do we actually feel fear? What is the root cause of our fear? We are always fearful. Like even we give the example of like even the birds, when you feed them grains, right? Even while they are eating grain, they'll take a bite and they'll look on both sides. They'll take a bite, they'll look on both sides. Why? There's fear that someone else will come and attack them, right? Or maybe a hunter has spread a net and is trying to catch me. The fear principle is, always there for everyone in this material existence. But what is the root cause of fear? In the 11th canto, it actually says, Bhayam dvitiya vinesha tasya ishad apetsa viparyo smriti tan maya yato buddha abhajatatam bhaktya yesham guru devatatma. And basically it says, Bhayam. Why is the fear arises in living entity? Bhayam dvitiya. When we actually turn to anyone other than Krishna, when the living entity is actually misidentifying himself as this material body, then that is the cause of fear of our existence here. As soon as we identify ourselves other than a servant of Krishna, that is the cause of fear in this material world. Okay? So as soon as the bhayam dvitiya, as soon as we turn away from Krishna, then we are actually covered by this Maya potency. And it is actually the influence of Maya potency that we are actually fearful in this material world. So in that purport, actually our acharyas explain that someone will say, okay, fear is out of ignorance, right? Because I do not know what is going to happen, that is because of ignorance. But then, okay, I'll give you some knowledge. Will that overcome fear? No, that cannot overcome fear. Because fear is because of the influence of the Maya Shakti. So the only way one can overcome fear is Devi Esha Gunamai Mama Maya Duratya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante. So the Chakravarti Pad is explaining in that verse. He says the only way to overcome fear is to actually take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. It is not that only knowledge can actually overcome fear. Fear is just a property of this Maya covering, illusory. That's why it says Bhayam Dvitiya Vinesha Sasva. As soon as you turn away from Krishna, you're under Maya's influence. And as long as you're under Maya's influence, there will be fear in this material world. And the only way is to take shelter of Krishna, and particularly how Sukadeva Goswami is saying, Hare Namanu Kirtan, by chanting the names of Krishna. That's the way one can overcome fear. So here also, just that sound of Krishna's, concha, that itself is a Jagat Bhaya, the fear of material existence, Bhaya Avaham, right? And that's the secret. How can we overcome fear? Just let the sound of Krishna. We always be in contact with the sound of Krishna, and there'll be no fear in our material existence. There's also, this also in the 10th canto, after the entire pastime of Putana, right? Then Mother Yashoda was thinking that, oh, Krishna, like all these demons, like this, he was just, he was in the presence of a demon, and she was thinking, I should do something to give Krishna protection. And then in that section, in the 10th canto also, Mother Yashoda, what is she doing? She's saying, okay, I'm going to chant the names of Krishna, because that names of Vishnu, because the names of Vishnu will actually get Krishna free from all kinds of fear. So even Mother Yashoda is chanting the different names of Vishnu just to give Krishna protection from all kinds of fear and evil. So that is the point of fear. So Jagat Bhaya Avha, that threatening principle, the fear of material existence, is actually destroyed by the sound of Krishna. And Prabhupada is actually saying the sound of Lord is identical with Lord. So as soon as the Lord is present through the sound manifestation, through the chanting of Hare Krishna, then everything, all our fear principle is actually vanquished. So there are so many quotes, like if you search on this fear principle, Prabhupada is saying, when chanting the Maha Mantra, we are completely safe, even in this most dangerous position. He says how this material world is padam padam yad vipadam natesham. Every step there is danger. But as soon as we chant the Maha Mantra, we are completely safe from this dangerous position. And okay, so that is the main point of the fear principle. Okay, so let's go ahead. We'll go to the next one. So what is the theme now? Like Krishna has blown his conch shell, and the residents of Dwarka have run towards Krishna, and the conch shell, the sound of the conch shell, has described as the sound that destroys all the fear of material existence. Okay, and Prabhupada in the purport, he actually concludes and says, this is due, okay, he basically is making the point, this is due to our association with Maya Shakti. Right? If you see towards the end of the purport, he says this is due to our association with the illusionary energy known as Maya. Yet all the fear is banished as soon as there is a sound of the Lord, which is through the chanting of the 16 words, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And the last line purpose is we can take advantage of these sounds and be free from all threatening problems of material existence. So when Prabhupada says chant and be happy, what does that mean? When you're chanting the name of Krishna, fear principle is vanquished. No more fear, no more anxiety. We can be happy in this material world. Okay, text 4 and 5.
Tatropanita balayoro raver deepam ivadritaha atma ramam purnakamam nijalabhena nityada prityut pula mukha prachur harsha gadgadaya gira pitaram sarvasurilam avitaram ivarbakaha.
The citizens arrived before the Lord with their respective presentations, offering them to the fully satisfied and self-sufficient one, who by his own potency incessantly supplies others. These presentations were like the offering of a lamp to the sun, yet the citizens began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as wards welcome their guardian and father. Hare Krishna.
So here it says thereupon. So tatra. So when they were actually approaching, so they're running towards the entrance of the Lord is coming, he's blown his corns, he's crossed the border of Dwarka, he's come, and they're running. And what are they doing? Thereupon they actually upanita balayaha. Balaya means presentations. They actually gave different gifts to Krishna. Imagine like they are actually waiting for Krishna's arrival and they are thinking, oh, when Krishna comes, I will give this to Krishna. Like, just like if you're waiting for a relative, who's coming, for a long time you've been waiting. Oh, when will he come? When will he come? In your mind, you're thinking, oh, when he comes, I will do this. I'll give this nice gift to him. So similar residents of Dwarka, now they are giving nice presentations to the Lord. But how is it compared to Raver Deepam Ivadritaha? Ravehe means sun and Deepam means lamp. And one may say even like if you go to the Ganga, Ganga in India, you see people, they take water of the Ganga and then pour it back to Ganga. Now someone who is not spiritual, or you get all these, actually if you go to Rishikesh, so many Westerners, they come to Rishikesh, and someone is not familiar with the principle, he'll be like, how stupid, right? They're taking just a little bit water of Ganga and giving back to Ganga. Ganga needs water. She's like overflowing with so much water, and you're taking just few drops and giving back to it. Doesn't make any sense. And here the example is of offering a deepa to Ravi. Ravi is the name of sun, right? How does it make sense? Like the diya is actually, the light is just like so small compared to sun, right? Prabhupada makes that point in lecture recently hearing. You're saying that how do we know the power of the sun? That being so many millions of miles away, still we can feel the scorching heat of the sun. When it's the summer heat, it goes to, Prabhupada says, like he was giving the example, like in Middle East or somewhere, it goes to 130, 140 degrees, it gets so hot. But the sun, how far is the sun? Millions of miles away. Imagine the power of the sun. Now that sun is the source of all heat and light. And now you're taking the small diya, which is also the energy of the sun, and offering it back to the sun. How does it make sense? Right? And then further, it actually says, Atma Aramam, unto the Atma Aram Purna Kamam. Right? So it is describing the Lord. The Lord is actually self-sufficient and he is fully satisfied. So if Krishna is self-sufficient and he is fully satisfied, then your presentations to the Lord, what value is that? If someone is a source of everything belongs to him, right? And then you go to him and you say like, okay, here, $1 I'll give you. Like, he's a billionaire. He's like the source of everything. What is your $1 or like 50, a quarter, a penny to that person? No value, right? So similarly, the Lord is described here as self-sufficient and fully satisfied, right? So why is that example of the diya to the sun? What is the main point here, right? The main point is the presentations that the residents of Dwarka are giving to the Lord. Right? Though the Lord is self-sufficient and fully satisfied, He's actually accepting these presentations out of his own mercy, right? And then the word is actually nija labhena, by his own potencies, nityada, one who supplies instantly. So the Lord is nija labhena, by his own energies, he is giving everything. The entire world is actually his own property. So what can you give the Lord? But you can give what? Preeti. Preeti means affection. So if you take, going back to the example of the offering the water of Ganges back to the Ganges, or offering a lamp to the sun, the main point is, yes, everything belongs to Krishna. Like the light is also the energy of the sun, or the water of few drops of Ganga is also Ganga. But through that we are actually offering our affection to the Lord. So similarly, the residents of Dwarka, by making these presentations to the Lord, are actually showing their affection, their preeti to the Lord. And further is described that began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the Lord, just as wards welcome their guardian and father. Just like if a man has a small boy, like Madhav or someone younger, and then the man may be working like a full day's work, and then he comes back in the evening, and the small boy, he comes to the door and just says one letter, like pa, like calling his father, just like one syllable, and the father is so happy. Oh, my son said this, right? So similarly here, just as wards welcome their guardian father, just like that, they are speaking with little words, they are making an offering to the Lord. But Lord, because he's so merciful, he's actually accepting all these offerings. Okay, so nothing. The Lord is completely full. He does not need anything. But when we actually make an offering to the Lord, because he's merciful to us, he's a well-wisher for all of us, he actually accepts that offering, though he does not need anything. Right? So actually, there's in Prahlad Maharaj's prayers, there's actually a verse exactly the same point. It is 7, 9, 11, where it says, Naivatmana Prabhur Ayam Nija Labha Purno Manam. So same that Nija Labha Purna, here Nija Labhena, there Prahlad Maharaj is saying Nija Labha Purna. Basically, he's saying the same point, that you're always, the Lord is completely satisfied in himself. But then he actually says, the Lord is fully satisfied. But when something is offered to the Lord only out of his mercy, for the benefit of the devotee, he actually accepts that. Right? And the example that Prahlad Maharaj is saying is just like if one's face is decorated, the reflection of one's face in the mirror is also decorated. Similarly, when one offers anything to the Lord, it is actually the person offering who is glorified, because the Lord is always glorious. It's not that if we are giving something to the Lord becomes even more glorious. No, Lord is complete. He is fully glorious, right? But the person who's offering, he actually becomes glorious by offering to the Lord. So Prahlad Maharaj is actually saying that the person who actually is giving, he actually gets benefited because the Lord is complete. Right? Okay, so that is the point. And then here Atmaram is used. Purna Kama is fully satisfied. If someone is fully satisfied, how can you satisfy him? So the only thing that is the affection. Right? So Prabhupada says it is a sign of pure love and affection between the Lord and the devotee. Okay. Yeah. So that is basically text 4 and 5. Okay.
Prabhu, can you please say the verse of Prahlad Maharaj you just quoted?
7, 9, 11. Naivatmana Prabhu Ayam Nija Labha Purno Manam Janad Avidusha Karuna Vrinite. So Karuna, only out of mercy the Lord is actually accepting. And yad Jano Bhagavate Vidadita Manam Tat Chatmane Prati Mukhasya Yatha Mukhashri. So last line is saying Prati Mukhasya Yatha Mukhashri. When you decorate yourself, then the reflection is also decorated. So similarly, this can be also applicable. When we actually decorate the form of the Lord in the temple, we are actually getting glorified that, oh, you're so fortunate, you are actually engaged in the service of the Lord. The Lord is all beautiful. Right? It said that when the ornaments are offered to the Lord, the ornaments actually are beautified, not the Lord himself. The Lord is completely beautiful. Right? So similarly, when we offer anything to the Lord, it is actually for our own benefit. We are actually glorified. We are purified. We are actually coming back to our original position. Okay. Okay. Text number 6.
What were those two shlokas about fear that Shukadeva Goswami said? From,
2:11 is the one where it says, Ete nirvidya mananam ichatam akuto bhaya. So that is particularly saying that all the bhaya, right, can actually be described by Hare Namanu Kirtana.
Was there another one Sukadeva Goswami said? Or that was
2:15 is the other one.
okay.
And Prabhuji, for 11 canto, you said,
Bhayam Ditya Vinesha Satsat.
yeah. So which chapter in 11 canto?
7 to 37.
7.
That's a very
Thank you.
Okay. So let's proceed to text number 6.
It's amazing how you remembered all these slokas, Prabhuji.
Prabhu, have you memorized the entire Bhagavatam? Or you have in front of you the screen or something?
Well, this, I don't know. I am zero actually. I'm only dependent on the mercy of the Lord. But like while preparing, I had referred back to these slokas. So that's why So let's see. Okay, so from text 6 onwards is actually the residents are going to speak. So in text 5, they actually said, what was the last line of text 5? And basically they said, just as the citizens began to speak in ecstatic language to receive the law, just like some children may speak some few alphabets and the father is so pleased. So similarly, these are actually there speaking to the Lord. And then the next 5 verses from text 6 to 11 is basically the citizens are speaking to the Lord. Okay. Now, can someone think that what would be the main theme of their prayers to the Lord? Now we have already said that these Dwarka Vasis are actually eternal associates of the Lord, right? So, and if you have read this chapter, you can get a hint. But it's nice to think of like what was the mood of the ladies of Hastinapur, right? And what they were, so there the mood was more of, they were longing to that position. Like some of them were more in Shanta, just glorification of the Lord. And they were actually saying, oh, here is that same personality who's present before the creation. So it was all in mood of honor. And there were others, the ladies, who were actually saying that, oh, they were actually aspiring for that, the Madhurya, that, like the queens of Dwarka, they were actually also saying, they are so fortunate. The Lord has become their husband. And then how the Lord kidnapped them, please kidnap us also, take us with you, we don't want to leave it. So that is their mood. Now here the residents of Dwarka, what is their mood? Okay, so just give it a thought and we'll start that. We'll read the next 5 verses. So let's start text number 6.
Natasmante nata swadangri pankajam virincha vairinchya surendra vanditam parayanam kshemam ihechatam param nayatra kala prabhavit paraprabhu.
The citizen said, O Lord, you are worshipped by all demigods like Brahma, the 4 sanas, and even the King of Heaven. You are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. You are the supreme transcendental Lord, and inevitable time cannot exert its influence upon you.
So what is their glorification? First they say, Nataha smate natha sadangri pankajam. So angri pankajam means lotus feet, right? And they actually say Virincha. Virincha refers to what? Brahmaji. Virincha is the name of Brahma. Then Vairincha refers to a son of Brahma, like Sanaka, Sanatana, Sanananda. And then Surendra referring to the king of heaven. Vanditam, worship. So now they are saying that, oh Lord, you are actually worshipped by your lotus feet, Angri Pankajam, right? Your lotus feet are worshipped by personalities, by all the demigods like Brahma, the sons of Brahma, the king of heaven, Indra, everyone is actually worship your lotus feet. And actually, why should they not worship? Because you are Parayanam, Param Parayanam. Okay, Parayanam means you are the supreme, and Param, the highest. Yeah. Okay, so Param Parayanam, supreme, Chitama, who desires Shimam welfare. Okay, so they are saying like, okay, you are worshipped by all the demigods, and you are the ultimate rest for those who are really aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. So the word I was looking for is that word for welfare, where it actually says Shemam. Yes, Shemam. So Param Parayanam Shemam. So why are they all worshipping you? Because you are the ultimate rest for those who are actually aspiring to achieve the highest benefit of life. So if you want your own welfare, anyone who wants his own welfare will actually take shelter of the Lord. Okay, and then further they say you are supreme transcendental Lord, and then Kalaha, an inevitable time, cannot exert its influence upon you. So worshipped by all the demigods, ultimate rest for all those who are aspiring their welfare. Then third, supreme transcendental Lord, and fourth point, beyond the influence of inevitable time. So Chakravarti Pada is actually saying Paramparayanam means you are the supreme shelter of everyone, including personalities like Brahma, Shiva, etc. And let's see what else. Okay. Okay, so let's go ahead. I'll come back to this verse when we connect with the next verse. Okay, so let's go to text number 7.
Bhayanastvam bhava vishvabhavana tvam eva matata suritpati pita. Tvam sadgururna paramam cha daivatam yasyanu kritino bhabhuvima.
O Creator of the universe, you are our Mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual Master, and worshipable deity. By following you in your footsteps, we have become successful in every respect. We pray, therefore, that you continue to bless us with your mercy.
It's a beautiful prayer to memorize. Bhavaya na tvam bhava vishwa bhavana. So bhavaya, again, welfare. So even in the previous verse, they actually use the word shemam to refer to the welfare. So those who are desiring their welfare, they actually worship the Lord. So bhavaya na tvam bhava vishwa bhavana. Vishwa bhavana means you are the creator. Bhavana, you are the creator of the entire wish, or creator of the universe. And this personality, so if you see in the previous verse, you are saying that personality who's worshipped by even Brahma, who is the ultimate rest for everyone who is desiring their welfare, and you are the supreme transcendental Lord, right? You're beyond the influence of time. That personality, you are actually our mother, our well-wisher, our Lord, our Father, our spiritual master, our worshipful. You are everything to us. Right? So that Lord who is actually transcendental, who is the creator of everything, that Lord for us is our actually mother, father, spiritual master, guru. He's everything to us, right? And then he says, Surat, well-wisher, patihi, husband, pita, father, and Sadguru, spiritual master. And then further he says, by following in your footsteps, we have actually become successful in every respect, right? So he says, yeah, yasya anuvritya, following Nasuda, Kritinaha, we have become successful, and we pray, therefore, you continue to bless us with your mercy. Right? So Prabhupada in the purport, he makes very interesting, wonderful. He says, the all good personality of Godhead, being the creator of the universe, also plans for the good of all good living beings. So Prabhupada is playing with that word good. He's saying the all good personality of Godhead. Why is he saying all good? Because previously and also in this word, he's saying that anyone who desires welfare, who is the personality turned to? Krishna. He's all good, right? The all good personality of Godhead also plans for the good of all good living beings. So if are you a good living being? Yes, then Krishna is personally taking care of you. right? And what does it mean to be a good living being? Then Prabhupada explained that how they are saying by following in your footsteps, we have become successful. So if you're following the footsteps of Krishna, then you are a good living being. Just like how, Prabhupada gives the example, if you're following the laws of the state, then you are a good citizen. So similarly, if you're following the dharmam tu shakshat bhagavad pranitam, you're following the rules which are left by Krishna himself, then you're a good living being. Then if you're following the rules, then Krishna actually personally takes care of you. Right? He does all good for all good living beings. And then Prabhupada says, the good living beings means to follow his good advice that Krishna is giving. And by following the good advice of the Lord, we'll become successful in all spheres of life. And then further, actually, Prabhupada says, our relationship with him is eternal. It can neither be broken nor vanquished. It is only forgotten and can be revived by the grace of the Lord if you follow the scriptures of all times and all places. Right? So what does it mean to become a good living being? Right? So the Lord he is the one who is actually desiring the good for all good beings, right? So how can we actually be under the shelter of the Lord? So the Lord is always desiring a benediction, desire to give us his benediction or his mercy, is basically Prabhupada is saying that, the relationship with the Lord is always there. It is not broken, it is not vanquished. It is there. Our relationship with Krishna is there. The only thing that's happened now, it is forgotten. Right? And how can we revive that forgotten relationship? By turning to the instructions of the Lord, which are given in Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, is all instructions of the Lord. So by following those instructions, then one can actually revive our relationship with Krishna. Okay. And then, okay, this point about, you are our mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual master. How can we understand this? If we are saying, okay, the Lord is our mother, father, and so on. One way of understanding this is we consider our parents to be our well-wishers, right? Whatever the mother does, we say like, okay, if the mother is even chastising the child, we say like, oh yeah, the mother is doing that to actually, for the good of the child. Right. So the parents are always, one way we say, are well-wishing the child. So here, when you say that, Lord, you are our mother, well-wisher, Lord, Father, spiritual master, and worshipable deity, you can actually say that when the different personalities, like our parents, our other seniors, are actually desiring our the best interest, or desiring something good for us, we can actually consider that all them are actually representatives of the Lord. The Lord's benediction and shelter and mercy is coming through all these personalities. And in that way, even if we receive like some benediction from our relatives or anyone, then we can say, oh, it is the Lord who is actually acting through that. So in that way, we are always conscious of the Lord as the supreme well-wisher of all. Okay, let's go next page.
Aho sanata bhavatasmayadvayam Traivishtpanam api dura darshanam Premasmita snigda nirikshananam Pashyema rupam tava sarva sobhagam.
Oh, it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence. For your lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Now, it is possible for us to look into your smiling face, which is full of affectionate glances. We can now see your transcendental form, full of all auspiciousness.
It starts with aho. Aho means oh. Oh, it is our good luck. What? Sanatha, to be actually under your protection. Right? So it is our good luck that we have come again today under your protection by your presence. So the Lord has come and they're saying, oh, we are so fortunate again that we have again come under your protection, right? Because you're present here. And then they are saying, for your Lordship rarely visits even the denizens of heaven. Even the word is used, Dura Darshanam. Dura Darshanam means even the demigods, for them to actually get darshan of the Lord is very difficult. But now we are so fortunate that you have come personally to give us your darshan. Right? So we know that how even the demigods, whenever there's problem in this material world, they actually all go to Brahma and say, Brahma, there is so much problems in this world, or this demon has attacked, please do something, right? Like so many times we read, like when Krishna's appearance, same thing, like when the earth was overburdened with sin and all the demigods, they went to Brahma. Then even when Dhruva Maharaj was meditating, the weight of Dhruva's meditation was so heavy that all the demigods, and he was breathing like, his breath was like choking the air of the demigod. And they all went to Brahma and said, Brahma, do something, right? And then what does Brahma do? They all actually go to the banks of the Shvetadvip. Right? On the other side is this Shvetadvip, which is actually nothing but manifestation of Vaikuntha in this material world. And there they chant Purusha Shukta prayer. And does the Lord actually come on the other side of the bank and say, okay, here I am? No, he doesn't even give his darshan to those demigods. He just, through Brahma, normally it is through Brahma, he just reveal the message in the heart of Brahma. And then Brahma will tell all the demigods, oh, this is what the Lord said, right? And then they go back and they do the respective function. So even for the demigods, it is so rare to get the darshan of the Lord. But we are so fortunate that now you have come right in front of us and we can see your beautiful form. Now it is possible for us to look into, what is it? Prema smita. You're smiling with love. Snigna, affectionate. Nirikshana ananam, face looking in that way. Your beautiful face with the smile of Krishna's face with affectionate glances. We are actually able to see that form. Okay, and we can now see your transcendental form, which is actually Saubhagam. Saubhagam means it is all auspicious. And just by seeing Krishna's form, it is all auspicious. And then Prabhupada says how that this form of the Lord is only seen by the pure devotees. And, and then Prabhupada is pointing out, one way if you see the demigods also, they are also devotees of the Lord, right? But they are, we say they are sakam devotees. Right? So what is the difference between pure devotees and the devotion of the demigods? The thing is Prabhupada is actually explaining. For the pure devotees, there is no tinge of material contamination of fruitive activities and emphoric philosophical speculation. Anyabhilasita sunyam jnana karmadi anavritam anukulena krishnalus bhakti uttama. So it is only those uttama bhaktas, those pure devotees who can see the Lord in such a way where he's actually smiling, he's actually showering his affectionate glances to those devotees, right? The demigods, though they are devotees, but because they are not in that pure state, they are dur darshanam. They cannot have the darshan of the Lord in this way, how the Lord is actually giving them their beautiful darshan. Okay, text 9.
Yaryam bujaksha pasasarabho bhavan kurun madhun vata surididrikshaya tatrabta koti pratimakshano bhavid ravim vinakshnor iva nastavachuta.
Sarvam.
Sarvavit.
I'll go ahead. O lotus-eyed Lord, whenever you go away to Mathura, Vrindavana or Hastinapur to meet your friends and relatives, every moment of your absence seems like a million years. O infallible one, at that time our eyes become useless as if bereft of sight.
Yari means whenever. Ambuja Aksha. Ambuja means lotus eye. Aksha means eyes. So whenever, O lotus-eyed Lord, Apsara, when you go away, where you go away? So they say Madhun. Madhun referring to the inhabitants of Mathura, Brajbhumi. Kurun referring to the descendants of King Kuru. So when you go away to meet the residents of Mathura, Vrindavan, or Hastinapur, to meet your friends and relatives, then what happens? Say, Atha, therefore, Surit did driksha for meeting them. Then Abda Koti means millions of years. Shana. each moment seems like a million of years, right? And then they are actually saying, Bhavet, it is just like, again, Ravi means sun, Aksha means again eyes. So it's just like at the time our eyes become useless as if bereft of sun. Right? So if you have in darkness, we cannot see anything. Your eyes are there. You may be blinking your eyes, but it's completely dark. Still, you cannot see. So without sun, eyes are useless. So similarly, is actually saying here, oh infallible, at the time our eyes become useless, and every moment seems like Abda Koti means millions of years, right? And how Divinity Mata is pointed out, Yugaitam nimishena chakshusha pravishaitam shunyaitam jagat sarvam govinda virahena. I mean, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is saying, every moment seems like a million years or more, when we have that mood of separation. So the residents of Dwarka are expressing their mood of separation here. That when you go away, it is so difficult for us. Right? Okay. So, okay. One very interesting point here is, okay. First of all, in the purport, Prabhupada is actually, Prabhupada is making the point that Krishna Surya Sama Maya hai Andhakar. Jahan Krishna, tahan nahi Maya Adhikar. So Krishna is like the sun, Maya is like darkness. So when we are in contact with Krishna, the son of Krishna, then we are under his shelter. Otherwise, it is Maya. Maya hai Andhakar. Jahan Krishna, tahan nahi Maya Adhikar. So wherever there is Krishna, there is no Adhikar of Maya. And if we are actually always in contact with Krishna by the grace of the Lord, the pure devotee cannot be in the darkness of ignorance. And then he sees everything in the right perspective. When we are in contact with Krishna, then our eyes, we see everything in relationship with Krishna. It's not that the pure devotees, they say, like when you say, Premanjana Churito Bhakti Vilochana. It's not that everywhere they see Shamsundar Krishna. They see everything in relationship with Krishna. They see like, oh, this is Krishna's energy. So how can I use that in service of Krishna, right? So when we are in contact with Krishna, the sun like Krishna, then we can really see. Without Krishna, all we are seeing is just like seeing in a dreamlike state. Our entire existence here in this material world is like a dreamlike state. So seeing without that eyes of Krishna, we are like in a dreamlike state. Without him, our knowledge is covered by illusion. Now, the point that Chakravarti Pad is explaining, that he says, okay, now they are saying that you go to Kurun. Kurun means Hastinapur. Okay, you go to Kurun. But then it says Madhun. Madhun means proper translation, inhabitants of Mathura. But in brackets, he says Rajbhum. And Chakravarti Pad is actually explaining that Madhun actually refers to Vrindavan, not Mathura. Why? Because all his friends from Mathura, when Jarasandha had attacked, all the friends of Mathura, all his relatives, he had actually overnight taken them to Dwarka. So none of his friends as such were there in Mathura at that time. But then why would the verse say that he's going to Mathura again? It's not Mathura. That Madhun actually refers to Vrindavan. And Chakravarti Pad actually uses this as a point to prove that Krishna actually does go back. After leaving Vrindavan, he goes back. Often in our books, we say like, oh yeah, Krishna left. And then he never went back. He sent Uddhava, but he never went back. But Chakravarti Pad is using this point from this shloka of Bhagavatam to prove that, yes, after Krishna was called by Akrura, he killed Kamsa, he did go back. Otherwise, why the residents of Dwarka would have said that when you go to Vrindavan again, every moment seems like a million years. And then he actually, Chakravarti Pad quotes different shlokas, and he says like how in Srimad Bhagavatam 10:39-35, Krishna actually says, he tells the gopis, I will come back. And then when after killing Mathura, then Krishna, when Krishna was in Mathura after killing Kamsa, then he told Nanda Maharaj, he said, Nanda Maharaj, I will come to see you. Right? So when Krishna actually has repeatedly made the point that I will come back, I'll come to see you, that means that Krishna did go back to Vrindavan. There's actually an entire book written by Shivram Swami Maharaj called Krishna Sangati, which actually tells how Krishna comes again and again back to Vrindavan. Right? But that is not so much described in and Bhagavatam. But here Chakravarti Pad is actually saying that even Bhagavatam is making the point that Krishna actually goes to Vrindavan. Okay, text 10.
Katam vayam nata chiroshite tvai prasanna drishtya kirata patroshanam jive mate sundaraha sashobhitam apashyamana vadanam manoharam iti chodirshita vacha prajanam bhaktavatsalaha shinvano nugraham drishtya vitanvan pravishat puram.
O Master, if you live abroad all the time, then we cannot look at your attractive face, whose smiles vanquish all our sufferings. How can we exist without your presence? Upon hearing their speeches, the Lord, who is very kind to the citizens and the devotees, entered the city of Dwarka and acknowledged all their greetings by casting transcendental glance over them.
So there are two verses in this, right? Two verses together. So first verse is still the citizens of Dwarka are speaking, and the second is Krishna's reciprocation. So the first verse, they actually say, Katham Vayam. So how, so they're basically making the point that if you live abroad all the time, if you live in Vrindavan and if you live in Hastinapur all the time, then we cannot see your prasanna, and we cannot see your attractive face and your smiles, whose smiles vanquish all our suffering. Just the smile of Krishna is shoshanam, tapa shoshanam. Tapa shoshanam means it actually vanquish all our sufferings. How can we exist? Katham, how can we exist without your presence? So basically now they are telling Krishna, now you have come back, please don't go. How will we live without you? Right? When you're here, then we can actually see your smiling face, and by seeing that, all our sufferings are over, and you are actually Bhakta Vatsala. So how can you give us suffering? So please don't leave us, right? And then the second verse is actually saying that upon hearing all these speeches, the Lord, who is Bhakta Vatsala, who is actually very dear to his devotee, then he entered the city of Dwarka. And how did he acknowledge? By casting his transcendental glance over. Right? So how he reciprocated with all the citizens is described later. We'll be reading in the next few verses. But here it is described just by his glance, he reciprocated. And we see again and again, right? So what did Krishna do when the ladies of Hastinapur spoke those prayers?
He glanced,
smiled and gave glances.
Smiled.
Yeah, he glanced and he also smiled, right? He glanced to those who are in Shanta and he smiled to those who had that mood of Madhuri. Right? And then when Queen Kunti, after her prayers, what did Krishna do?
He just smiles.
He just smiled, right? So Krishna, one thing is in spiritual exchanges, just a subtle exchange is actually sufficient to give us all satisfaction. And I'm sure you all have the experience, like your Guru Maharaj may just give one glance at you, one merciful glance, and that one glance you'll remember all your life. This is how my Guru reciprocated, right? And then in contrast, if you see the material side, material relationship, it is actually so much more gross, and still it is not satisfying. Still not satisfying. But spiritually, just one glance. So Krishna's one glance, one smile, and that's it. Everyone is completely satisfied. So here he just cast his glance over them, and that way he acknowledged all their prayers. Okay, Prabhupada in the purport he points, Lord Krishna's attraction is so powerful that once being attracted by him, one cannot tolerate separation from him. So, and then Prabhupada explains, why is this so? Why is this so? He explains, because we are all transcendently connected with Krishna. So basically he says, it's just like the sun and the particles of sun. The particles of sun is directly connected with the sun, right? That is, that is the direct relationship. So once someone is, because we are eternally connected with it. So once that attraction, once we are attracted by him, how can we tolerate separation from him? The covering, like right now, the only thing is the forgetfulness of a relationship. And Prabhupada compares that to just like sometimes it's a cloudy day, right? So when it's cloudy, what happens? Yes, the sunshine is there, but it is kind of, that relationship is kind of temporarily it is blocked. But as soon as the clouds go away, then the sunshine has direct relationship with the sun. So similarly, right now, we are just have that artificial covering of Maya. But as soon as the covering is removed, then the Lord, the living entity can see the Lord face to face. And as soon as one sees the Lord face to face, his miseries are at once removed. And then Prabhupada concludes the purport and says, like, every one of us wants to remove the miseries of life, but we do not know how to do it. The solution is actually given here. What is the solution to remove our miseries of life? We have to reconnect with our lost relationship with Krishna, right? Just like the sun particles and the sun, right? So that's the example that Prabhupada says. So that first sentence is so powerful, that Lord Krishna's attraction is so powerful that once we are attracted by him, one cannot tolerate separation from him. So that's actually the process of Krishna consciousness. So we just need to be attracted by the Lord. And that's basically our fight between, like, right now we may have some material attachments, and in our sadhana, we may be battling between our attraction for Maya and our attraction for Krishna. But actually, the whole point is how we say Param Drishta Nivartate, is you have to just turn your eyes and connect yourself with Krishna. Krishna himself is so attractive that once you actually even taste Krishna, then you'll be like, okay, I don't want to leave this. And that's our whole point of bhakti. We just need to experience Krishna. We experience Krishna, then we'll forget all our attraction for Maya. Okay, so let's stop here. Let's hear some comments, some realizations, any points in that in this last 5 shlokas or from starting of chapter that stood out to you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much. Prabhuji, I like the point that once we identify ourselves as a servant of Krishna, then there is no fear. Let the sound of Krishna come to our ear and all the fear will go away.
Very nice. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, go ahead.
I like the point that pure devotees convert all material things into spiritual, just like your example by Prabhupada, the first Ratha Yatra inspiration. That was a very nice point. And the second one I liked was, fear cannot be overcome by the knowledge, but it is only get ridden by the shelter of Krishna, which is what the points are.
Yeah, like our whole point is coming to a point of taking shelter of Krishna. Every situation in our material life is actually an opportunity for us to take shelter of Krishna. That's our perfection of life. The more we take shelter of Krishna, the more we are actually perfect in coming closer to Krishna. Thank you.
Krishna Prabhu, this verse last which we read, 10, we always say Srila Prabhupada's purports as his ecstasies, his own realization. So this first line of the statement is like, it is his ecstasy and also proves that he is a self-realized person, saying because we are all eternally related to him, he have understood his relationship. That is why his purports are so, this is so strong, like 1-2 lines can make us understand Prabhupada's position.
Wonderful, Mati. Thank you. Thank you for sharing the video.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I really like the point that out of his mercy for the benefit of devotee, he accepts everything. He has everything, but just to glorify the devotee, he accepts everything. Yeah. Not that he doesn't have it, he has everything. Yeah.
And remember the 2 examples. What are the 2 examples?
Offering diya to sun.
Okay, offering diya to sun.
And his water.
Yes, Ganges water.
Water. Yes, yeah.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
I really like the point how Lord Krishna is so attractive, so powerful that once we see him, we cannot tolerate separation from him.
That's a famous verse from Rupa Goswami. He actually says, if you want to maintain your family relationship, if you want to maintain your relationships in this material world, do not go to the bank of the Yamuna and see the threefold bending form of Krishna. Because if you see that, you'll forget everything. The attraction is so powerful that once you have that, you will not want to do anything else. So basically, Rupa Goswami in that verse is saying that go to Yamuna, see the threefold bending form of Krishna. That is all that's worth seeing in this world.
So Prabhuji, on that note, once we are attracted, we cannot tolerate the separation. Definitely, I feel attracted, but I don't know if I have that separation or intolerance for that. And then I was just reading through the purport, and the last sentence Prabhupada talks about the solution is it rests on us to assimilate it or not. So assimilation means what, Prabhu? Can you explain a little?
So if you see the previous sentence, Prabhupada says, every one of us wants to remove the miseries of life, but we do not know how to do it. So what is the solution? Solution is given here, that we have to feel that Krishna's attraction, right? So that's, it remains up to us to actually assimilate it or not. So, the solution is given in these pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. But it is up to us whether we are actually, connecting with Krishna or not. That's the main point. Right? And the point of a separation, what you mentioned that, yes, we feel some attraction, but is there the separation? Actually, to the extent there is attraction, there is separation. Why? Because let's say anything we are doing, any devotional activity. Now, let's say due to some circumstance that you're unable to do it. Immediately, what is the mind? Oh, Krishna, why can't I do the seva? And I'm sure you all have personal, I was just thinking of one personal experience that I have. That, you want to come in association with devotees, and somehow there is some kind of hindrance, whether that is in terms of some disease or some other situation that you cannot. Then immediately, what is the mood? Krishna, please, I just want to go back. I want to be with devotees. I just want to be in the kirtan. I want to attend that festival. That separation is there. So to the extent we have attraction, to that extent there is separation.
Beautiful, Prabhu. Thank you. I can relate it now.
Not finding parking in the Pulan Park. Krishna, I want to be with devotees. Please let me park the car somewhere.
So there is a question by Divin. She said when Krishna is in Ras Leela, he manifested so many different, for every gopi there was a Krishna. But why he did not expand himself in Dwarka and Kurukshetra and Vrindavan? Why don't we see different forms of Krishna? One in Hastinapur, one in Vrindavan, one in Dwarka. Why do we have it? And that is the whole point of why Krishna actually leaves Vrindavan. Why does Krishna leave Vrindavan? One way, Vrindavan parityaja padam ekam na gacchati. What is that? Krishna does not take one step outside Vrindavan. But still, that pastime is there where he leaves Vrindavan just to increase the intensity of attraction of the residents, of the devotees to Krishna. So even here, the Dwarka residents, when Krishna leaves, then that is actually heightening their intensity of love for Krishna. And Krishna, wants to, the entire pastime of the Ras Leela, where, when Krishna is playing with the gopis, and then he leaves them, he's with Radharani, and then he leaves Radharani, right? And then all the gopis are they actually enact in that mood of separation. They are they cannot stop thinking of Krishna. And in that mood, the different gopis are actually enacting different pastimes of Krishna, where one of the gopis is actually becoming Kaliya, and the other gopi is actually, kind of subduing Kaliya. Then one of them becomes, Putana, and then all these different leelas, they are actually so absorbed. And Krishna from the behind is actually watching all this. And why is Krishna doing all this? Just to intensify. And then after that, there's a famous conversation when Krishna comes back, and the gopi says, what kind of lover are you? Right? And then he actually gives us 3 categories of lovers. He says, what kind of lover? We are showing our love and you left us for that? Are you like an ingrateful lover? And then finally Krishna actually says, no, I am not an ungrateful lover. The only reason I actually left is to intensify our feeling of love. It actually said, when Krishna is not there, then the pure devotees of Krishna, they see Krishna everywhere. Everything they see, it reminds them of Krishna. But when Krishna is personally there, it is actually the intensity of love is not as high as when Krishna is absent, because then Krishna is right there. They're just relating to Krishna as a person. Just like a mundane example, like, if the child is right there, then you're playing with the child, he's your main focus of attention, for a mother, and baby is right there. But if the baby is not there, is gone away, and you're feeling that, oh, where is my child? Then everything in the house you see, you'll be thinking that, oh, here I used to play with this child here. Oh, this is the child's toy. This is where the child used to do this, or here is where he did this, and here he used to crawl, he used to like to stand here, and whole house is what? Thinking about the child. Similarly, for the pure devotees, their separation is such that when Krishna is not there, everywhere they actually see Krishna. That intensity of love, that love actually intensifies so much. Like that famous conversation in the 10th canto, where Radharani is actually talking to that bumblebee. And if you read those prayers, that's so intensified love, right? So
Yeah, the Brahmar Gita, right?
Brahmar Gita.
Yeah.
So why does Krishna not manifest himself as Mathura or Vrindavan form and all this? Because he wants to intensify the love of the devotees. Okay. Any other points? We'll continue this chapter.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, I have a question. In the first word, the Dwarka is called Anartan. It is called Anartan because it is underwater.
I'm not sure, Madhi. I was thinking of that. I couldn't find the good answer why it's called Nartan. Well, it's not underwater. It's underwater now. That time it was an island. But, it's Anartan referring to the island of people. I don't know, like maybe someone can research into that. Okay, I can search that more.
Prabhu, I have asked this question to Haripashad Prabhu. He has not replied. The moment he replies, I will send you.
You should ask someone who, expert in Sanskrit.
Sanskrit.
Okay, let's proceed further. So next is our next section is relatively easy. We can go a little faster, and it is describing this Dwarka city and how it is, decorated. So we'll go a little fast in this next section. So let's continue. Text 11.
Well, I'm going to have to, can someone else do the verses for a while? Because I have to.
Yeah. Okay. Who would like to, maybe like who's doing the translation, you would like to do the shloka also? Okay. So we have a Veg Fest event and she has to go, and then immediately after class I have to go. So, so who is reading the Sanskrit can also, in the translation can also do the Sanskrit. Okay. So let's continue. Who is next?
I'll read.
Yeah.
Madhupoja Dasharaha Gururandaka Vrishnibihi Atmatulya Balera Guptam Nagera Bhogavatim Iva. As Bhogavati, the capital of Nagaloka, is protected by the Nagas, so was Dwarka protected by the descendants of Rishni, Bhoja, Madhu, Dashara, Arha, Kukura, Andaka, etc., who were as strong as Lord Krishna.
So basically here it's just giving a comparison that the capital of Nagaloka, Bhogavati. So this is actually described in the 5th canto of Bhagavatam, where it says that how the lower planetary systems, they also, Prabhupada is explaining that in the purport, where the celestial serpent state, Nagas, that is also very beautiful, beautiful gardens, rivulets, and it's actually said it is as opulent as Swargaloka itself, or sometimes even more opulent than Swargaloka, the lower planetary system. But they are protected, is protected by the Naga. So similarly, the Dwarka is actually protected by so many descendants of Vrishni. Like we hear Bhoja, Madhu, Dashara, all these are different like descendants of the Vrishni line, right? So all these different groups were actually protecting the city of Dwarka. Okay, next. Next one.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, can someone please read the sloka?
I'll do it.
Yes, can I, Prabhuji?
Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, text 12. Sarvar tu sarva vibhava punya vrukshalatashrame udyano pavanaramay vrutta padmakara shriyam.
Hare Krishna, the city of Dwarka was filled with the opulences of all seasons. There were hermitages or orchards, flower gardens, parks and reservoirs of water breeding lotus flowers all over. Hare Krishna.
So these verses are very direct, and also the purport, like Prabhupada in the purport talks about, how the perfection of human civilization is actually by utilizing these gifts of nature, like the flower gardens, parks, reservoirs of water. All those are actually a natural beauty and opulence. And Dwarkapuri, we see all this. And Prabhupada also makes a point that even now, though our material civilization, we are like so much like filled with buildings and roads and highways, all those things, but still we have that tendency of being in contact with nature. Like when they have, like someone is really rich, then they'll have a big house, but along with that, they will make sure there's some garden, there's some lake, there's some water. So Prabhupada is actually making a point that those things are natural gifts that we have the tendency to actually, utilize. But, because of this modern civilization, that finer instinct of human beings is actually deteriorated. And then we find more prestige in having like big factories, big mills, and all those things. But this is actually the natural instinct, is these natural resources. Okay? So human energy should be properly utilized in developing the finer senses of spiritual understanding in terms of these gardens, parks, and so on. Okay. So text 13.
Hare Krishna. Gopura dwara margasheshu krita kotuka toranama chitra dhwaja pataka argaranta pratihatatpama. The city gateway, the household doors, and festoon arch along with the road were all nicely decorated with festive signs like plantain trees and mango leaves, all to welcome the Lord. Flags, garlands, and painted signs and slogans all combined to shade the sunshine.
And so how the city of Dwarka was decorated, then the household doors, the arches, everything, if you consider arch and everything, nicely decorated with different signs like plantain trees and mango leaves. These two are considered auspicious. Like, we can, from Bhagavatam, we understand culture also. That's why when there's like a house, warming house inauguration, we get these plantain leaves, mango leaves. They are considered very auspicious. So we see that. And then also there were flags. So Chakravarti Padre is actually saying the flags were in such a way that the city walkways were actually covered, shaded by these flags. And Prabhupada in the purport is actually saying that how these flags were actually painted with pictures of Garuda and Hanuman. They are the two servitors of the Lord. And Prabhupada in the last sentence, he brings out the mood, the essence of our Bhagavatam. He says the servitor of the master is paid more respects for the satisfaction of the Lord. So basically Prabhupada is saying the flags, like, they could have been decorated with Krishna's form, right? You could have nice Krishna, like different forms of Krishna on the flag. But why is it decorated but painted with Garuda and Hanuman? Why? Because the Lord is more pleased when his devotees are glorified. And that is, a practical point even in our sadhana. When we glorify our spiritual master, when we glorify the Vaishnavas, the Lord is more pleased by the glorification of the devotee than the Lord himself. And that's why in the Srimad Bhagavatam, in the different pastimes, who is the main character, the main hero? The devotee. rather than the Lord himself. Like we give the example in the Prahlad Narsimhadev pastime, right? The entire 7th canto is actually based on the Prahlad Narsimhadev pastime. But how many chapters of that is describing Prahlad Maharaj and how many chapters Narsimhadev? Almost all the chapters are actually focusing on Prahlad Maharaj. Like the one chapter is describing how Narsimhadev appears, but then after again 2 chapters that Prahlad Maharaj is praying to the Lord. The whole theme is Prahlad. That's why Srimad Bhagavatam is so much more glorious than the other Puranas, because the devotees of the Lord are more glorified than the Lord himself. And that is our secret of receiving the mercy of the Lord. Like how Prabhupada says, he says, if there's a rich man walking, and if you give his son a lozenge, like one of those, in India you get those candy, the 2 paisa candy, says you give his son this small candy, and the father will be like, oh, this man is very nice, he's pleasing my son. Similarly, the same thing. We are the dogs of our spiritual master. We serve our spiritual master, Yasadeva Parabhakti, Yathadeva Tathagu. By pleasing the spiritual master, then Krishna is actually pleased with that. Right? So Prabhupada, like though that's not the main theme of the text, Prabhupada is bringing out such an important point about our devotional service. Servitor of the master is paid more respects for the pleasure of the master. Okay, 14.
Samarjita Mahamargarata Ratyapanaka Chatvaram Shiktam Gandha Jalair Uttam Phala Pushpakshaka Ankuraihi. Translation: the highways, the subways, lanes, markets, and public meeting places were all thoroughly cleansed and then moistened with scented water. And to welcome the Lord, fruits, flowers, and unbroken seeds were strewn everywhere.
So, let's go back and consider the whole scene. Like the whole citizens of Dwarka have been waiting anxiously. When will our Lord come? When will our come? Okay, battle Kurukshetra over. When will he come? And then finally the conch blows. And then the Lord actually comes. And then immediately they go, they give different presentation, they speak few words, and everyone, the entire city of Dwarka, they are actually decorating the house, decorating the roads, cleaning everything. Oh, Krishna has finally come. Here it is described, they moisten the roads with scented water, and then fruits, flowers, unbroken seeds were actually spread everywhere. Whole city was decorated to actually welcome Krishna into the city. And Prabhupada also points out, like, consider highways, subways, lanes. And Prabhupada says, that itself tells us that how Dwarka is actually a huge place. If it was just a small city, then why would you need like highways and subways and different lanes? Dwarka itself is so big. And we can actually consider, just to accommodate Krishna's family, you certainly need a big place. One Krishna, 16,108 queens, each queen, 10 sons, each son, 10 sons. So Prabhupada says, just the family of Krishna is like in millions. And to accommodate such a family, certainly you need a big place. So Prabhupada said that it appears from this, the city of Dwarka Dham was considerably big with highways and so on. Okay, 15.
Text 50. Dvari Dvari Vihanam Cha Dadi Akshata Palek Shubhi Alankritam Purna Kumbhe Balibhi Dhupadipate. Translation: in each and every door of the residential houses are spacious things like curd, broken fruits, sugarcane, and full water pots, and articles for worship, incense, and candles were all displayed.
So basically every house, so not only the entire city was decorated, but every house, every door, they had like auspicious things, curd, yogurt, sugarcane. So we read mango leaves, plantain leaves, sugarcane, all considered very auspicious. Incense, candles. So entire city was, every house was also decorated. So Prabhupada says it's not like a dry reception these days, but it's so wonderful, like so festive reception that we are seeing of Lord Krishna. Okay? And the last line of the purport, Prabhupada said, without distribution of food, no function is complete. And that is the way of Vedic culture. So every function we have, there should be at least some prasadam distribution should be there. It's important. It's our Vedic culture. Okay, 16, 17.
Ishamya prestam ayantam vasudevo mahamana Ruraschograsenascha Ramascha Vikrama Tadyumnascha Udesnascha Sambho Jambati Sutta Harsha Vibhuchatista Sayanasana Bhojana. On hearing that the most dear Krishna was approaching Dwarka Dham, magnanimous Vasudev, Akrura, Ugrasen, Balaram, the superhumanly powerful Pradyumna, Charudeshna, and Samba, the son of Jamavati, all extremely happy, abundant resting, sitting, and dining.
Right, so now it is actually after describing the city of Dwarka. Now the next few verses are going to talk of the reciprocation between Krishna and the residents of Dwarka. So here it is saying that on hearing Krishna approaching, then all so many different personalities. And Prabhupada in the purport, he actually has like a paragraph or two paragraphs glorifying each one of these personalities. He talks of Vasudev, Akrura, Ugrasena, Balaram, Pradyumna. So he talks about each one of them. And what did all these personalities experience? They became all extremely happy. Oh, finally, Krishna has come. Right? And whatever they were doing, that was Shayana, there was Bhojana, that was Asana, whatever they were doing, they just stopped and they went towards Krishna. So in the purport Prabhupada, you can just read on. Prabhupada talks about each one of these personalities, Akrura, Ugrasena, then Baldev. So Balram, Prabhupada explains, how Balram is the first manifestation of Krishna, and he's as good and as powerful as Krishna himself. He's known as Rohini Nandana. And also Prabhupada points out that how he is the Adi Guru, he is the original spiritual master. And it is only by the spiritual strength, the bala given by Balaram, that we can actually engage in spiritual life. So we actually should pray to Balaram to give us spiritual strength to actually engage in devotional life. And then Pradyumna is described, and then Charudeshna, Samba, they're all like sons. Charudeshna is the son of Rukmini Dev and Lord Shri Krishna. Then Samba is another one of the sons from Krishna and Jambavati. So whatever they were doing, they just stopped and then they ran towards Krishna. Okay, text 18.
वारणेन्द्रं पुरस्कृत्य ब्राह्मणैः ससोमङ्गलैः शङ्खतूर्यनिनादेन ब्रह्मघोषेण चाद्यतः प्रत्युचग्मुरथे द्रष्टः प्रणयागतसाध्वसाः. Translation, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. They hastened toward the Lord on chariots with brahmanas bearing flowers. Before them were elephants, emblems of good fortune. Conch shells and buggles were sounded, and Vedic hymns were chanted. Thus they offered their respects, which were saturated with affection.
So it is described that all the personalities were described earlier in the previous verse, Vasudev, Akrura, etc. They went towards the Lord, but how did they go? Towards the Lord on chariots with brahmanas bearing flowers, and in front of them there were elephants, which are considered emblems of good fortune. And then there was conch shells, bugles were being played, Vedic hymns were chanted. So you can just, in your mind, you can meditate on the scene, like how, Krishna is entering Dwarka and how everything in Dwarka is decorated. Citizens are going, they have offered these words to Dwarka. Now we are talking of those who are like, the king, Ugrasena, and then Akrura, the minister, everyone there. How do they approach Krishna? They just don't run towards Krishna like the citizens, but they actually go, they have big chariots and elephants in front of them. And then the brahmanas are chanting all these mantras. Such a beautiful reception of the Lord, And thus they offer their respect, which was saturated with affection. Right? And all that, it was affection. Let's see, in the purport, Prabhupada talks. So Prabhupada first sentence, beautiful. The Vedic way of receiving a great personality creates an atmosphere of respect, which is saturated with affection and veneration for the person received. So the reception, such a program of reception is full of sincerity on the part of both receiver and receiver. Right? This is the Vedic way of receiving a personality. There is respect, but at the same time there is affection. Right? So you're welcome. Like even with spiritual master, or senior devotee. Yes, certainly we have all respect when they come to our house, but also there is, a mood of affection and veneration. That, how we say sometimes spiritual master is our best friend, but at the same time, he is our guru. He's as good as Krishna. So both there is respect and at the same time there is that affection. So that is the way Prabhupada says, that's the way we respect great personalities. Okay, text 19.
वारमुख्याश्च सतसो यानैस्तर्शनोत्सुतः लसत्कुण्डलनिर्भाता कपोलवदनश्रियः. At the same time, many hundreds of well-known prostitutes began to proceed on various vehicles. They were all very eager to meet the Lord, and their beautiful faces were decorated with dazzling earrings, which enhanced the beauty of their foreheads. Hare Krishna.
So this verse, Charan Prabhu spent the entire class basically describing this verse. Vara Mukhya, well-known prostitutes, Shatasa, hundreds of them, right? And then Utsukaha. Utsukaha for what? Darshana. They were very anxious to have darshan of the Lord. And they were also decorated with earrings, and they actually all proceeded to meet the Lord. They were eager to meet the Lord. So let's see. So, okay, one question here is why is Suta Goswami mentioning the prostitutes as such? Right? You can understand the normal citizens he's mentioned. He's mentioned the ministers and the king Ugrasena and all the prominent Dwarka Vasis. But why is now he actually mentioning the prostitutes? Who would like to answer that? Or a point from the Chaitanya Prabhu's theme of this verse.
Which is the points that I remember was that because the society was not perfect at that time, that's why Krishna has to come. So there were prostitutes. Another point is said that because when you are perfecting into arts, you have to spend so much time in practicing them. So that's why these women were virgin women. They were not married. And then this the word prostitute has now come into modern world. It has not deteriorated. Otherwise, these were just women who were not married, and they were just perfecting in their arts.
So one point that Prabhupada also mentions in the society, that he mentions that point that, that there is every society, there is a need for, and he mentions a point, even for prostitute, there is need, because if there is no class like that, then even the regular sane families, then there may be like prostitution within the family, because there are some lusty desires or things like that. So it is actually, Prabhupada is actually giving the example, like this example is more easier to understand, that like it's happened in India also, that like banned like drinking, intoxicating some liquor, right? And wherever it was banned, then because people had the desire to do it, they illegally started smuggling liquor. And then the government said, well, now it is like, before they were actually taking it, but now they are, in addition to drinking liquor, they are actually now illegally smuggling liquor. So instead of that, they actually started opening government approved liquor shops. Or so because that way this, so similarly, that's the point Prabhupada is saying, similarly there's a need for prostitution. Okay, so that's one point. Okay, now what is the reason why Suta Goswami is mentioning prostitution in line with the theme of the Bhagavatam? Anyone else can think?
Everyone can be attracted to Krishna, even prostitutes.
Yeah, they are the devotees too.
Yeah, prostitutes can be devotees, yes.
So that is the main theme of Bhagavatam. That in Bhagavatam, a son can be a guru to his mother. Right? Who is that? Kapila Muni.
Kapila.
Yeah? then a demon can be a devotee compared to a demigod. Who is that?
Mitrasura.
Dasura. Right?
Yeah.
And then a child can be a devotee compared to a father.
Prahlada.
Right? So in Bhagavatam, and okay, one more. A wife is a devotee compared to the husband. A wife is a guru to her husband.
Brahmanas.
Yes,
Also.
the Yagya Patnis, right? And they actually set the example of devotion to their guru. So in Bhagavatam, it's actually everything is flipped according to the Vedic standards. Right? In Vedic standard, always the parents are the guru, but here the son has become the guru. So particularly Suta Goswami is mentioning the prostitutes just to make the point that even those prostitutes, even though whatever is a varna and ashrama, it does not matter. What matters is our devotion to the Lord. That's why Prabhupada in the purport, in the 4th or 5th line, says, devotional service to the Lord is uncheckable in all circumstances. And that is the theme of Bhagavatam. And Suta Goswami is actually bringing that. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he also prayed to, when he came in front of Lord Jagannath. What was the verse he said? Na ham vipro na cha narpati napi vaishnava shudro na ham varni na cha grapati na manustutarva kintu prodhyan nikila parmananda purnamta gopir bhartur padakamar dasa dasam. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also he rejected. Said, I'm not a Brahmana, I'm not a Kshatriya, I'm not a Vaishya, not a Shudra, not a Brahmachari Gras. All those are external. Gopir Bhartur Padakamalero Das Das Anudas. The only thing that matters is the position of servant of Lord Shri Krishna. Right? So devotional service to the Lord is uncheckable and also. And Friday was the disappearance of Haridas Thakur. And through the life of Haridas Thakur, the main lesson is whatever our challenges, still our devotional service can be uncheckable in all circumstances. Right? Imagine Haridas Thakur being beaten in 24 marketplaces. And what did Haridas Thakur say? Even if my body is cut into thousands of pieces, still I will not stop chanting Hare Krishna. And then later on, there's this prostitute, and then trying to allure Haridas Thakur. What is it? I have still japa to do. Let me finish my japa, then I will serve you. And throughout the life of Haridas Thakur, we see this example. That we talk of obstacles in our japa. Oh, I have this, I cannot do this. But from the life of Haridas Thakur, we can be inspired. In spite of everything, he chanted 192 rounds every day. Imagine 192 rounds. 300,000 names of Krishna. Right? And in spite of that, he got time to go out and preach the glories of the Lord, and glories of the holy name of the Lord. Right? That's why Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, you are actually Namacharya, because you not only are chanting, but you are also preaching. Your achar and prachar both are perfect. Right? Okay. Prabhupada in the purport, he also talks about the life of Bilva Mangal Thakur. It's a beautiful story, but we don't have much time to go into detail. But Prabhupada is actually saying that how Bilva Mangal Thakur also, he was, before he became Bilva Mangal Thakur as a devotee, he was attracted to a prostitute by name Chintamani. And then how he was supposed to meet Chintamani, and then there was a rainstorm, heavy rainstorm, right? And then the river was actually said to be overflowing, But he was so determined to meet the prostitute that he said that he crossed over that overflowing river floating on a dead body. And he crossed over. And then when he went, the gates were closed. And then he climbed over the wall. And then it said that there were snakes, and he actually used a snake to climb over. And finally he came and he knocked on the door of Chintamani. And Chintamani said, if you have so much determination to meet me, if you had so much determination for Lord Shri Krishna, then your life would be successful. And just that one statement, and then Bilva Thakur transformed his life. Right? And Prabhupada mentions later on, when Bilva Thakur, he composed all these beautiful bhajans, he actually glorified Chintamani to actually say that she is actually my first guru because she showed me the way to Krishna. Right? So Prabhupada using that is actually making the point that irrespective of what is one occupation, Prabhupada says, due to certain, I should read that one sentence, is very nice. By tricks of chance, one may be obliged to adopt a particular profession. By tricks of chance, we may be obliged to do a particular occupation. But still, that does not give us an excuse to actually stop our bhakti to Krishna. Okay. So, should we take a break? Yeah,
It's the same story for the Tulsi Maharaj also, for who wrote the Ramayana.
You're talking about Valmiki?
No, I'm talking about the Bilva Mangal Thakur story. Is the same story is for the Tulsi. Tulsi Maharaj, he wrote the Ramayana.
Oh, Tulsi Das.
Yeah, Tulsi Das.
Tulsi Das. Okay.
Yes.
Well, not exactly the same, but yeah, you can find some maybe similarities. But okay. Okay, let's take a break. Actually, let's see. Let's just do one more verse, text 20, and then we'll take a quick break. Who is next?
नटनर्तक गंधर्वा सूत मागध वंदिना गायन्ती च उत्तम श्लोक चरितानि अद्भुतानि च. Expert dramatists, artists, dancers, singers, historians, genealogists, and learned speakers all gave their respective contributions, being inspired by the superhuman pastimes of the Lord. Thus they proceeded on and on.
So it says Adbhutani Charitani. Very nice word. Adbhutani Charitani and Uttama Shloka. So Adbhutani Charitani means his superhuman activities, and hence he is actually glorified by Uttama Shloka, by words which are actually beyond the Tama of this material world. By the chosen words, he is actually glorified. So because he has Adbhutani Charitani, the Lord Krishna has Adbhutani Charitani, hence all these different personalities, dramatists, artists, they actually praise the Lord, the Uttama Shloka Lord, right? The Lord who is actually glorified with wonderful prayers. Thus they proceeded on. So one way you can also say that text 19 is saying that devotional service is not stoppable in spite of one's varna or occupation. And here you can say that devotional service is further, you can say like devotional service is not stopped by even the different, like you have Prabhupada mentions that Brahmanas, Shudras, all these different categories are there in this verse. And all of them are actually devotees of the Lord. Okay. And Prabhupada also points out the importance of having these, different personalities. Like Prabhupada says in the second paragraph, that all dramatic performances were centered around the pastimes of the Lord, right? So imagine that, you have these dramatists and different actors, and now we have Bollywood, Hollywood, and like there is nothing to do with the pastimes of the Lord. But previously, any drama performance, anything that is actually enacted is all based on pastimes of the Lord. So even the children growing up, even while growing up, they are seeing, oh, such a nice thing. Oh, this is actually Lord Ramchandra's pastime. Oh, the bridge was created across the Lanka. Oh, that is Lord Ramchandra's pastime, and then Krishna's pastime. So even while growing up, they actually hear about Krishna's different pastimes. Right? So Prabhupada points that how are required for the spiritual. All these dramas, dancers, singers, speakers, they are actually required for the spiritual enlightenment of common man. Right? So how the culture of the society can influence the spiritual enlightenment. Okay, let's stop here. So we are almost halfway through a chapter, and let's see how far we can go. So let's take a break quickly. Let's take 5 minutes break. Yeah, let's take a break. It's already 95. So please come back in 5 minutes.
Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Rama
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everyone, please come back. Arundhati Mati, your hand is raised. Do you have a question? Okay, so should we continue? Yeah. Okay, Hare Krishna. Arundhati Mati, you had a question?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Quick question. I never heard this in text 17. While describing about Pradyumna, it says he's a son of Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rukmini, and Lord Krishna. So Rukmini, Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rukmini.
Oh, Lakshmi Devi, Srimati Rukmini. That's what
Yeah. Yes. I never heard. I heard her name as only Rukmini Devi.
Yeah. Like actually, if you see, all the queens of Dwarka are actually considered as goddesses of fortune. So in that way, they are actually referred to. Like in Chaitanya Charitamrita, it's described that in the Adi Lila, in the 4th chapter, it's described that when you consider these associates of the Lord, there is Gopi Jana, there's the queens of Dwarka, the Mahishi Gana, and there is Lakshmi Gana. So Gopi Gana is actually the gopis of Vrindavan. Then there are the queens of Dwarka, and then there are the Lakshmis. But actually, everyone has got, one way goddess of fortune, right? Chintamani Prakara Sadma Sukalpa Vrishna Lakshmi Sahasra Rata Samra Sevamananta. So Krishna is served by thousands of such Lakshmis. So there, that Lakshmi is actually referring to, either the gopis, or it's actually referring to the queens of Dwarka, or these, the goddess of fortune in terms of the ones in Vaikuntha.
You said one more, Prabhuji. Mahishis?
Mahishi referring to the queens.
Queens. Okay, okay. Mahishi means a queen. Okay, got it, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Chaitanya Charitamrita Adi, chapter 4, text 74. 474 of Adi Lila. Krishna Kanta Gana Dekhi Trividha Prakara Eka Lakshmi Gana Pure Mahishi Gana Ara Brajangana Rupa Ara Kanta Gana Sara Shri Radhika Hoite Kanta Ganera Vistara. The beloved consorts of Lord Krishna are of three kinds: the goddesses of fortune, right, the Lakshmi Gana, the queens, that is the Mahishi Gana, and the milkmaids of Braja, Gopi Gana, who are the foremost. Gopi Ganas are highest. And all these are actually coming from Sri Radhika.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Okay, okay, so next proceed. Text number 22. Oh, sorry, 21. 21. Yes.
Bhagavam Satatra Bandhunam Paurunam Anuvartinam Yata Vidya Upasangamya Sarvesham Mananam Adade. Lord Krishna, the personality of God here, approached them and offered due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome him.
So up to this point, we read about the reception of Lord Krishna by the citizens, by the Ugrasen, king, ministers, and all the other like prostitutes, artists, how they. And now what is Krishna's reciprocation to them? Here it says Bhagwan, Tatvena, Bandhunam, of the friends, citizens, and Anuvartinam. So everyone who actually approached the Lord, how did the Lord actually reciprocate? Upasangamya. Upasangamya means he actually went near Sarvesham to each one of them and Manam, honor and respect. So Lord Krishna, you see how his reciprocation is so perfect, right? We read previously our reciprocation just through a glance or through a smile. But that, that glance and smile should not be just taken as like a general, oh, he smiled at all those, ladies of Hastinapur, or he glanced. No, his reciprocation, even though it was a glance or a smile, was personal to each and every person. And here we see the Lord approached them, offered them due honor and respect to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens, and all others who came to receive and welcome them. And the word Prabhupada focuses is Yatha Vidhi. Yatha Vidhi means as the person has greeted the Lord, to that the Lord has reciprocated accordingly. Like similar to Ye Yatham Prapadante, right? As you approach the Lord reciprocates. So here Yatha Vidhi is just as it was perfect for that reciprocation, the Lord reciprocated in that way, right? And Prabhupada in the purport actually says, the pure devotees are of one type only, because they have no other object for service but the Lord. Therefore, the Lord also reciprocates with such pure devotee just as it behooves. What is that? He is always attentive to all matters of his pure devotees. So what's the point? Because the pure devotees, they know no one except Krishna as my Lord. I know no one but Krishna as my Lord. And then for the Lord, they say like, the Lord sees the pure devotee and say like, he's given up everything just for me. How will I reciprocate? I will give complete attention to that person. He is always attentive to the matters of his pure devotee. So there's also a practical point in our sadhana stage. Like many times we think that, I am so such a rascal, so many impurities, lust, anger, greed, everything is in me, right? Amara jivan sada pape rata, it is full of pap. Why will the Lord reciprocate with me? But we can consider the Lord's reciprocation is always there for us. It is only our doubts that is obstructing the Lord to reciprocate. It's only our tendency that, oh, is the Lord really there? Will he hear to me? I'm such a rascal. No, it is only our doubt that is actually blocking that reciprocation. but the Lord is willing to reciprocate with us completely, 100%. He satisfies everyone in terms of one's development of spiritual consciousness. Okay. So that's how the Lord is reciprocating with each and everyone. For the pure devotees, because they give 100% to the Lord gives 100% to that pure devotee. Actually, the Lord gives 110% to the pure. More than even the pure devotees. Like the Lord gives everything to the pure devotee. Okay, text 22.
प्रभवाभिवादनाश्लेषा करस्पर्श स्मिते क्षणे आश्वास चाश्वपाकेभ्यो वरे चाभीत mateर्विभो. The Almighty Lord greeted everyone presented by bowing his head, exchanging greetings, embracing, shaking hands, looking and smiling, giving assurance and awarding benedictions even to the lowest in rank.
So how is the Lord actually reciprocating? He is either just exchanging words and greeting in that way. He's embracing some of them, those who are like kind of people he embraced. Then others he shake hands. We consider shaking hand like kind of like a Western thing. But actually, even in the second canto or third canto, I mean, it comes, second and third, when Brahma actually does the aspect of creation, then the Lord comes and he shakes his hand. And he says, from one creator to secondary creator, now you do the task of creation, right? So that shaking of hands, so Lord is also shaking hands. He's looking, smiling, he assurances, and he awards benedictions. Varai, he gives benedictions, and even to the lowest in the rank. So actually that word there is ashwapakebhyaha. So actually that word swapacha is coming from the same root. And Bhagavatam, you find this verse, Swapacha, Prabhupada refers are those who are like the lowest, who are dog eaters. The lowest of all those kinds. So here the point is actually that even though we're the lowest of all people, Krishna actually reciprocated with them by giving benedictions to them. And the last sentence of purport is so beautiful. No one is rejected by the Lord from the kingdom of God, and it remains with the living being to accept this. No one is rejected by the Lord. However, and many times, like practically in our sadhana, we may like how a disciple came to Prabhupada and said, Prabhupada, sometimes I fall in Maya. And Prabhupada said, you're always in Maya, sometimes you fall in Krishna. So basically, like, when we are doing our sadhana, we may be like, oh yeah, fall in Maya so many times, fall away from Krishna. But whatever happens in our spiritual life, by mistake, we may do some kind of, stupid things, this and that, or accidental mistakes, all those things. But that is never a reason to actually be disheartened, in the sense that Krishna, we can anytime in our spiritual life say, okay, I did that stupid thing, now I'm going to atone for it and come back, engage in my sadhana. No one is rejected by Krishna, however sinful we are, whatever stupid mistake we do, we can always turn back to Krishna. The door to Krishna is always open for us, whoever we are. So that is one door to Krishna is actually always open, except only one thing. Except that's the only one thing, that when you commit Vaishnava. Other than that, even you do something in Maya and do some stupid thing and watch movies and this and that, the door to Krishna is always open. You can always say, okay, I wasted so much time. Now enough is enough. Now I'm not going to do again. And you atone for it. Like, sincerely in the heart, when we atone, then we actually can break that habit. Right? And we do that atonement and engage in devotional service. And Krishna's door is always open for us. No one is rejected by the Lord. Okay, 23.
Swayam cha guru bir vipre sadare stavirerapi asir vir yujyamano ner vandibhis chavisatpuram. Then the Lord personally entered the city accompanied by elderly relatives and invalid brahmanas with their wives. all offering benedictions and singing the glories of the Lord. Others also praised the glories of the Lord.
So now you can consider, so Lord reciprocated with each one of them. And then after that, now he's saying, okay, now let's proceed towards the main city. And then we'll read further how he actually goes into where his mother's quarters are there. I mean, the father's quarters are there, mother's father. And then where his queen's palaces. He goes everywhere, right? But now who is he actually walking with, right? So it is said he personally entered the city with elderly relatives and invalid brahmana. Of all the people, these two categories have been mentioned. Right? Namo Brahmanya Devaya, Go Brahmana Hitaya. Like so, Brahmanas, how Brahmanas are so dear to Krishna that Krishna is actually walking, he's entering the city with these invalid. Invalid referring to those Brahmanas who are actually old, they are very old. Still, those Brahmanas, Krishna is actually giving them special attention, right? And elderly relatives. So we see again the matter of just etiquette, of giving respect to the elderly relatives and especially the elderly Brahmanas. Okay. And then, yeah. Okay. So Prabhupada also mentions that these Brahmanas, even though they are old, they don't stop glorifying the Lord. And by glorifying the Lord, they themselves are glorified. And then Krishna is actually giving them so much importance. Right? So that's the duty of the Brahmanas, to always glorify the Supreme Personality. Okay. Okay, text 24.
Rajamargam Gate Krishne Dwarakaya Kulashriya Armanyani Aroruhur Vipra Tadikshana Mahotsavaha. Translation. When Lord Krishna passed over the public roads, all the ladies from the respectable families of Dwarka went up to the roofs of their palaces just to have a look at the Lord. They considered this to be the greatest festival.
So previously we read how the ladies of Hastinapur, when Krishna was leaving, they went to the rooftop and they looked. And now we are reading of the different ladies from the families of Dwarka. They went to the rooftop just to have the darshan of the Lord. And how is that darshan? Tad ikshana. Ikshana means darshan. Tad ikshana mahotsava. That just that darshan of the Lord is actually the greatest festival. The greatest festival. So they consider this to be the greatest. To have a look at the Lord is the great festive occasion. Right? So Prabhupada and the Prabhupada, anyway, I think we don't have enough time, but I wanted to talk a little bit how Bhagavatam, elaborates on the beautiful form of the Lord. Like here is just giving a reference that just seeing the Lord is actually the greatest of all festivals. We often say any festival, we say, oh, Radha Ashtami, Mahotsav, right? The great festival ki jai. Here is saying just you take darshan of the Lord, and that is the greatest festival. Why? Because the Lord is so beautiful. And that beauty of the Lord increases at every moment. And we'll read that further also, how the queens, and we'll come to that verse. But basically the form of the Lord, it's not that we come to a temple and we've seen Radha Goloka and it's like, okay, I saw them yesterday, and it's over. No, every time we see them, it is actually a festival of the heart. Because the Lord's darshan is actually dynamic in the sense that, it is becoming, the Lord is actually becoming more and more beautiful at every instant. We look at the Lord and we appreciate the beauty. And when the Lord looks at us, he says, oh, my devotee is appreciating the beauty. And he smiles, right? Then he increases his beauty. And then for pure devotees, it is actually, that's what Chaitanya Charitamrita describes. That the pure devotees see the Lord, like the gopis, they see the Lord, and say, oh, Lord is so beautiful. And they become so ecstatic and so beautiful. Oh, my Lord is so beautiful. And when the Lord sees the pure devotees, say, oh, these devotees, they are so blissful, so ecstatic. And the Lord becomes even more ecstatic. And then the devotees sing, then they become even more ecstatic. And then that way there's like a infinitely growing transcendental reciprocation between the Lord and the pure devotee. And it never ends. And in the spiritual world, it is increasing and increasing and increasing and increasing, increasing forever. There is no time also. Increasing forever. And that is the ocean of bliss. the ocean of nectar. Right? So Prabhupada in the purport, he actually points out that this Archa Vigraha form, that in the temple how we have the form of Radha Golokananda, this is actually the internal potency of the Lord. The Lord has manifested in this form just to facilitate, give all of us a chance to serve. Lord is manifesting in this deity form, and how the word says, Pratima nahi tumi sakshat Brajendra Nandana. If you really understand that the Lord is not Pratima, it's not an idol, Sakshat Brajendra, you are actually Krishna himself. Right? So Krishna himself is manifesting, in this Archa Vigraha form, so that we get an opportunity to serve the Lord, just to facilitate us getting an opportunity to serve the Lord. And also Prabhupada makes a point that as such, with our eyes, we cannot see the Lord. And because we are, practicing sadhana and we want to see the Lord is so merciful. He says, okay, I'll manifest in a form that you can actually see. And he manifests in different deity forms. Okay. And Prabhupada also points that even though the Lord is manifesting earth, wood, stone, etc., still it is not that the Lord has like a material element. Right? When we see the form of the Lord, we should never think that, oh, this is marble or this is stone. No. This is the Lord himself. This is non-different from Krishna, the Supreme Personality of God, completely spiritual Satchidananda Vigraha. Okay, let's go ahead. 25. So now these verses are going to go more beautiful, more in detail of the beautiful form of the Lord. Okay, so 25.
Nityam nirikshamananam yadapi dvarakokasham na vitrapyanti hidrasha shriyo dama angam achyutam. Translation. The inhabitants of Dwarka were regularly accustomed to look upon the reservoir of all beauty, the infallible Lord, yet they were never satiated.
Okay, yeah, never say it. Yeah. So basically here, if you see, Nityam Nirikshamana. So the residents of Dwarka, every day, Nityam, they are seeing the Lord, right? Yet api Dwarka, the inhabitants of Dwarka, Ukasam, the inhabitants of Dwarka, na vitrapyanti. Still they are never satisfied. Every day they are seeing the form of the Lord, but they are not satisfied, right? And Shriyo Dhamangam Achyutam, particularly the word Achyutam is actually mentioned because it's actually referring to the Lord who is infallible and whose beauty is actually increasing at every moment. If something is continuously increasing, then every time you come in contact with it, you'll see more and more. Then how can you be satisfied? Similarly, the essence of Dwarka, because the beauty of the Lord is increasing, every moment it is newer and newer. Okay. Yeah, it becomes newer and newer, and hence the the devotees are never satisfied. They want to see the Lord more and more and more. Right? And Prabhupada actually in the purport he talks about anything material seen for a number of time ultimately becomes unattractive by the law of satiation. So if you consider material, you see something in let's say I don't know, like some hero here, some whatever, a sportsman or a actor or actress. You see a few times, and after that it's okay. Now he's growing old. You lose interest, and it's like over. The law of satiation, or even food. You may like something a lot, right? But you may say, okay, 1 gulab jamun, 2 gulab jamun, 3 gulab jamun, 4 gulab jamun. Okay, that's it. Okay, abhi law of satiation, right? I'm satisfied, no more. Right? I cannot eat. It's beyond my capacity. I cannot eat. Right? The law of satiation. But on the other side, if you see, so even materially, there's no satisfaction. Spiritually, there's no satisfaction. But what is the difference? What is that, Vijay Mataji?
Never satiated.
Yeah, so both materially you're never satisfied, spiritually you're not satisfied. What is the difference? Because materially, you eat something or you come in contact with something. After some time, you're like, okay, that's it, over. No more. Now I want something else. Abhi gulab jamun ho gaya. Now I want rasmalai, or I want something else. It's like one after another. Like that's how we work in this material world. That we Mate says, stop giving the example of gulab jamun. And that's why in this material world, we keep changing our object of sense gratification. Now we want this, we enjoy a little bit, then say, okay, this is over. Now I want different. Like, okay, now this phone, iPhone ho gaya, abhi Android. So, something we keep changing, because we are not satisfied. You spend some time with it and then over. Now, spiritually, also here it is said no satisfaction. But what is the difference?
The object remains the same.
Yes, one in spiritually, we are still looking at Krishna. It's not that, okay, now I saw Krishna, now Krishna over, now I'll see him. No. Still we look at Krishna again and again and again, and still we're not satisfied. Materially, we keep changing. Maybe sometime, okay, then next, right? So that's one. What is the second difference?
Because he's ever expanding, he's ever increasing his.
Okay, so spiritually, Krishna is ever expanding, so that bliss is increasing. Materially, that object is actually always decreasing, right? Anything you see, it is always decaying. Krishna is always increasing. The material object is always decreasing. So, like sugarcane, initially you get juice, then dry, and you have to spit it out, just like that. Okay. Another point I wanted to make, the difference between these two, though both sides there's no satisfaction, is in spiritual life, we are not satisfied, and that experience is a cause of frustration. In material, right? Material, anything you're not satisfied, and that is a cause of frustration, and it's cause of anxiety, and a cause of distress. Spiritually, you're not satisfied, but that not satisfaction is a cause of ever increasing bliss. Ever increasing bliss. Every time you see, I'm not satisfied, I want to see more, I want to chant more, I want to read more. And every time we are actually experiencing more and more and more happiness. The real nectar that we are looking for. Sarvatma Stapanam Param Vijayate Sri Krishna. It keeps increasing, that bliss keeps increasing at every moment. Right? So that is the difference between spiritual and material. And Prabhupada says, no one therefore is satiated by seeing the transcendental body of the Lord, because there are always manifestations of newer and newer beauties. And then Prabhupada says further, no satiation in chanting the holy name of the Lord. There is no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord, and there is no limitation of the entourage of the Lord. He is the source of all and is limitless. So how much ever we chant, what do you get by chanting? More chanting. That's all we have to do. Keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting, keep chanting. 24 hours a day, right? Chanting. And then no satiation in discussing the qualities of the Lord. Like how there's a famous conversation between Bhakti Sans with Thakur and that political leader. And he said, he came and said, what? You're actually printing, what is that paper? Anyway, so they're printing the spiritual magazine, right? And they were doing, I think, weekly publication, right? And then that politician came and told Bhakti, what, you're publishing this every week? And then he actually said, Bhakti Saraswati Thakur said, in one city, right, you have maybe 5 to 10 different kinds of newspapers. Right? And this is just one small city. For us, we are talking of that entire spiritual world, which is actually increasing at every moment. What to talk of every week, every second, we can actually produce a new and new and new article. And it's not that we have to repeat. Every time it can get new and new and new, and there's no limit to the glorification of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay. Anyway, we'll talk more about the beauty of the Lord next class, 26 onwards. It's so beautiful verse that I don't want to rush through this verses. It really is giving the nectar of the beauty of the Lord. It says, the face of the Lord is a drinking pot of all the beauty. If you want to drink beauty, the face of the Lord is the drinking pot. So that is our next verse, which we'll continue next time. So I was thinking that instead of doing recording, next class we'll start with text 26, and then we may do like 3/4 chapter, and then maybe 1/4, and the next chapter. So we'll continue. And also the thing about the schedule. Yes, I made a schedule, but depending on how many texts we cover, you can just keep shifting the schedule. So because we don't want to rush through this, it's so beautiful. So this week is 11, we did up to text 25. So next week would be 11, and then maybe half of 12, or maybe half of 12. And then the week after that would be the 12th. We'll finish 12. Okay, so that will finish this unit for module 2. So you can just plan accordingly. Then that following week, that Wednesday and Saturday will be the exam. Right? So in between, like last time I gave an option which was more open because of festivals, but now please take it either Wednesday or Saturday. Just these two options are there. Right? And then the essay you can plan accordingly. So based on the schedule, please just plan according to how much we are covering in each class. Is there any question with the course as such? I know this week, I'm hoping I'll get time to finish grading all your question papers and the essays. So I'll do that. Yes, Mantri.
Yes, Prabhu, I have a question on if there is any memorization verse in these chapters, 10, 11, and 12.
I'll post on the group, Mantri. There's one verse in 11 that comes towards the last. We have not come to that, which is actually the one which says Udama Bhava Pishuna Mala Valguhasa. Let me check if it's in Ratnavali, but I remember I had learned that verse when I was doing
36.
Yes, 36. Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, 36 is there in Ratnavali. So 11:36 is one, and 11:38 is also there. Let's see. Oh yeah. Okay, there are verses actually. Sorry. So 11.7, 25, 36, 38. 4 verses are there in this chapter. One we discussed that Bhavayana Stom Bhava Vishwa Bhavana Tom Eva Matata Surit Pati Pitara. You are a master, Lord, you are a spiritual master. So that's a nice verse to memorize. 25 is Nityam Nirikshamanam Yad Api Dwarkosaham No vi Trapyanti Hi Drishaha Shriyo Dhamanga Achyutam. So that's the next one. And then 36 I mentioned, and 38. So these 4 are there.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Any other questions? So we'll stop here. If anyone want to, if devotees could kindly make one point they like from today's discussion, and then we can talk.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes,
I liked the point that Lord is always willing to reciprocate, but it's only our doubts that is preventing that reciprocation, and no one is rejected by the Lord.
Yes, wonderful point. Thank you so much.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes, ma'am.
Lord Darshan is like a festival.
Yes, Mahotsava, the Darshan of the Lord.
Yeah.
Thank you. Next.
I like how Lord went nearer to each and every one of the friends, relatives, citizens of Dwarka, and how he reciprocated.
Everyone, down to the one who is the lowest, he actually gave reciprocation to everyone. That's our Lord, our most merciful, most personal Lord. Thank you. Gopinath Prabhu?
Yeah, devotees of the Lord are more glorified than the Lord. This is the flag, the Garuda.
Garuda and Hanuman. That's our secret of success. Glorify the devotees of the Lord is certainly pleased with us. Okay, next. Vijay Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Prabhuji, because we are all related, eternally related to him, once we are attracted to Lord Krishna, then we cannot separate separation from him.
Yes, we cannot tolerate the separation. Once we experience Krishna, we cannot tolerate separation. Varsha Mataji.
Yeah, Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. I like the point that fear is there all the time. It doesn't go away by the knowledge, but its only remedy is to take shelter of Krishna or name of Krishna.
Yes. Hare Chananu, Hare Namanu, what's it called? The chanting, the constant chanting of the holy name of the Lord is the only way where we can get akuto bhaya, get free from all bhaya. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Yes.
Yes, Prabhuji, I was just thinking about this point, like when Krishna's conch shell was blowing and all the paraphernalia, it takes away the fear from the heart of devotees. But when we hear in Bhagavad Gita, when Krishna played his conch shell, the heart of all the Kauravas army, it was shattered. So it's good for devotees, but for non-devotees, it is.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for bringing that comparison. Okay. Who's next?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. I like the point where we talked about, just thinking and feeling Krishna with things around you is more beautiful than looking at the Shyamasundar all the time. But in his absence, thinking in everything in relation to Krishna is even more sweeter.
Yeah, you have to be anyway, like that point I would say, like we have to be a little careful in the sense that some people may say like, oh, I don't need to go to the temple, I think of Krishna everywhere. Like people make that point. So we have to make that first our relationship with Krishna should be there. Then we can see everything in relationship to Krishna. So first we have to see the form of the Lord again and again and again. Shyamsundar, we see. Then we can actually. So first is experience Krishna, then feel separation, right? Not feeling separation. I mean, not saying, oh, I see Krishna everywhere. Right? So first that experience of Krishna is there. Thank you, Mati. Okay. So anyone else?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Yes, Mati.
I really like that point. Krishna satisfies everyone in terms of one's development of spiritual consciousness.
Yes. Krishna is very personal. We are the most personal person.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. The difference between the spiritual enjoyment and the material enjoyment, like the material one will lead to frustration and the spiritual, the bliss will increase.
Yes. Anandam Buddhi Vardhanam, right? It's going on increasing and increasing. Yes, thank you. Okay. Who else? Next.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
I like the point where Lord Krishna's face increases, his beauty increases when the devotees see him and then reciprocates, and it's like eternally I like that point very much. And I like the statement that the face of the Lord is part of a nectar.
That is the next verse. We'll discuss that next.
Oh.
Thank you. We'll discuss that. We'll start off next class with discussing the beauty of the Lord. The beauty of the face. It's like so sweet. And I wrote down a few verses that we'll just quickly go through, like throughout Bhagavatam, where it discusses the beauty of the Lord. Okay. So we'll stop here. So thank you so much. Kanta Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Vanchakalpatarubhasya Kripasindhaya Patitanam Pavanam Vaishnavebhyo. Thank you so much. So one thing I'm going to post this week, but like I know some of them have missed few classes, but we have that attendance that has been. So if you are missing more than 70%, then you have to be careful. So you'll see, I'll send you all your attendance thing, so you know what is how many classes you have missed, so you can be careful. Okay, I have to drop here because I have to. My wife is at a veg fest and I have to coordinate that, so I have to drop. Okay, so thank you all so much for your association. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare
Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much. Hare
Thank
Krishna
you.
Prabhuji.
Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.